Welcome to Fantasy Audiobook. Gao Wu, Unlimited Avatars, Start to Kill S Alien Beasts. Chapter 61. Department of Law Enforcement. General Conference Room. Yao Yuan sat at the head of the rectangular conference table. On the left is the leader of the alien race who has completely recovered his complexion and the remaining 6 members of the alien race. On the right side sit the city lord and judges. How many warriors have been recruited? Yao Yuan asked in a deep voice. The assistant behind him replied, currently there are 236 first-level warriors, 178 second-level warriors, 66 third-level warriors, 12 fourth-level warriors, and 1 fifth-level warrior. In addition, recruitment is still continuing. By the time we enter the foreign land tomorrow morning, the number of people is expected to double again. There are not so many intermediate warriors in Zhongcheng. Because the conditions for the opening of the city defense department were too high, intermediate warriors from surrounding cities responded one after another. Yao Yuan nodded. That's enough. Tomorrow all the intermediate warriors will be organized into a team, and the team leader and I will personally lead the mission to annihilate the S-class beast herds. Others go and clean up the remaining trash fish. The assistant added. The Black Mountain Research Institute has provided a batch of the latest alpha reagents, which are very effective against alien beasts below F level. In addition, the reverse alpha reagent has also made breakthrough progress. Professor Lin allows you to have time to go to the research institute. Yao Yuan has always looked down upon these external aids. But just because he doesn't need it doesn't mean that others don't need it. The reagents will be distributed to ordinary soldiers. Ordinary soldiers do not need to enter the frontline battlefield. We only need to establish a foothold in the foreign land and then they can follow up and build a defense line. I'll make arrangements right away. The assistant closed the notebook and left in a hurry. The head of the Maka tribe suddenly said, now that the action plan has been formulated, should we discuss how to divide the source of the world this time? Yao Yuan raised his eyebrows. Still the old rules, half for one party. The leader of the foreign race shook his head. The human race is 2, and we are 8. Just as Yao Yuan was about to slam the table and stand up, the leader of the Maka tribe said first, I know you are in a hurry, but please don't be anxious yet. The tide of the abyss is coming. Hearing the words, tide of the abyss, Yao Yuan's facial expression became solemn. This distribution plan is decided by both parties. I am just a messenger. The group leader looked at Yao Yuan playfully. Aren't you known as the human sword immortal? Aren't you awesome? It's up to you what you do this time. Yao Yuan was silent for a moment. I need to make a call. The leader of the Maka tribe shrugged his shoulders. Please do so. Yao Yuan left the conference room. 5 minutes later, he returned with an ugly look on his face. Enter the alien world at 9 o'clock tomorrow morning, don't be late. We, the Maka tribe, have always been very punctual. The leader smiled and left with his tribe. The human sword immortal is nothing more than this. No matter how sharp the sword is, isn't it still in the hand of the sword holder? Macaw pig is too black, isn't it? He won't even give us half of it. The Lord of Zhongcheng knew some relevant top-secret information and couldn't help but be filled with indignation. Yao Yuan said in a deep voice, the tide of the abyss is coming. Without the help of the Maka tribe, we cannot defend it. He couldn't help but clenched his fists. Weakness is the original sin. The human race is really too weak. So weak that he is not even qualified to negotiate with the Maka tribe. The city lord was puzzled. Why did the tide arrive so quickly this year? Could it be that the Macaw tribe made it up? Yao Yuan shook his head. I have already confirmed it. The city lord sighed. It seems that after this foreign land is over, I will have to be recruited back to the abyss. The atmosphere in the conference room was a bit solemn. Every warrior who has entered the abyss knows how terrifying the tide is. The tide is not just a beast tide. ... Wang Biao is dead, your mission failed. The president is very angry now. At the dimly lit round table, Leo's voice was cold. Pisces is no longer as playful as before. There was an accident, and Wang Biao could have been captured. His intestines are now full of regret. If I had known this, I shouldn't have coveted the keys from the aliens in the first place. Wouldn't it be nice to hold Wang Biao down directly? It's too late to say anything now. Not only was the watermelon thrown away, but the sesame seeds were also thrown away. Ares gloats. I don't know who swore before and promised to get the key. Now that everything is ready on my side, where is your key? Being bullied by Aries, Pisces gritted his teeth, but was helpless. So now that the key is gone, do I still have to continue my mission? Aries looked at the lion. Continue. The lion said solemnly. Yao Yuan and the leader of the Maka delegation each have a key. Since we don't have our own key, we can just grab theirs after they finish dividing the source of the world. Aries raised his eyebrows. Boss, you asked me to single out the human sword immortal Yao Yuan. Are you thinking too highly of me? The lion snorted. Pisces will help you. If we fail again this time, the consequences will be serious. As soon as he finished speaking, the lion disappeared from his seat. Pisces smiled playfully. It seems we have to join forces again this time. HMPH. Just don't hold me back. Aries said and left. The smile on Pisces' mouth gradually disappeared. He punched the table hard. Incompetent rage. ... The next day, the entrance to Zhongcheng foreign land was overcrowded. Those who have registered queue up to wait to enter the foreign land. There are still some people who have not registered, and there is a long queue at the registration office. Qinzi came to the scene early in the morning to observe secretly. He discovered a fatal problem. If you want to sign up for this employment mission, you must show your warrior certificate. He didn't. In this case, I can only borrow one. Qinzi followed a first-level warrior who had completed registration to the toilet. Brother, I need your help with something. When the opponent was letting go, Qinzi suddenly appeared. The man was excited and kicked his foot. I'm sorry. The man raised his head, and his head met the black muzzle of the gun. Brother, what do you want me to do for you? A flattering smile appeared on the man's face. Lend me your registration card and warrior certificate. The man looked embarrassed. Brother, can you change it? The Weilong in Qinzi's hand pushed forward. Okay, you're playing like this, right? The man looked angry and yelled. Just borrow it. He quickly took out the registration card and warrior certificate and presented them with both hands. Performing well, Qinzi accepted the certificate, knocked the opponent unconscious with a punch, then tied him with a rope and threw him into the innermost compartment. After borrowing things, Qinzi was about to leave when he suddenly heard a fart sound coming from the first cubicle. Qinzi opened the door and saw Yi Wangmao sitting on the toilet. Their eyes looked at each other. Huang Mao's face was full of embarrassment and fear. Have you eaten? Huang Mao asked cautiously. Qinzi frowned slightly. When were you here? Huang Mao swallowed. Theoretically, I am the first one to appear in this toilet. But don't worry, I was keeping an eye on you just now and no one noticed you. Boom. Qinzi threw a straight uppercut and repeated the previous process. A few minutes later, Qinzi used his Thousand Faces ability to disguise himself as a first-level warrior and walked out of the toilet. The announcement has already sounded outside. Please register the warriors to gather on the right side of the entrance. The large force is about to set off. Qinzi blended into the crowd. Looking at the colorful glow falling to the ground, I took a deep breath. Strange land, here I come. Standing at the forefront of the entrance to the foreign realm were about 100 intermediate warriors. The team is led by Yao Yuan and the leader of the foreign race. Qinzi just glanced at each other from a distance. 30 low-level warriors form a team, a total of 13 teams. Qinzi's team number is 1. Following the order to set off, a team composed of mid-level warriors stepped into the glow first. Half an hour later, it was the turn of the low-level warriors to set off. Qinzi's team all walked into Xiaoguang. Still the same weightlessness as last time. With a flash of white light in front of his eyes, Qinzi had already appeared in a different world. When they saw the scene in front of them, everyone couldn't help but gasp. The corpses of more than a dozen concrete and huge high-level alienated people were lying on the ground in disorder. It was a mess all around. Traces of battle can be seen everywhere. Qinzi couldn't help but marvel at the quality of the construction of No. 10 vault. The wall is so hard that even high-level fighters can't break through it. It's not like the Bean Curd Dregs project of Zhongcheng Hotel. A casual sword strike can lift a dozen floors into the sky. More than 20 senior warriors guarded the entrance. They were more or less injured. A few serious guys were even covered in blood and had half their arms gone. From the content of the chats of several people, it can be known that Yao Yuan is leading a team to clean up more advanced aliens in the depths. Qin Zi's team did not stop too long, and immediately proceeded according to the previously planned route. All the people encountered along the way were low-level alienated people. The team this time is not like the student trial group last time, everyone has rich combat experience. Facing the attack of alienated people, respond calmly. Without paying any casualties, they advanced nearly 200 meters in just 20 minutes. Qin Zi used the terminal to check Yao Yuan's route from time to time. The opponent is going in the exact opposite direction from the current team. They seem to have stabbed the den of the alienated. The alienated ones kept rushing out like a swarm of wasps. Due to the limited monitoring area, all the invisible monitoring probes further ahead were broken. Qin Zi couldn't see the real-time picture either. He is a little anxious. I want to get out of the big team as soon as possible. Take a 5-minute break, the leader yelled. Everyone sat on the ground one after another, taking the time to rest. Isn't this battle too easy? Indeed, there is no comparison with the fighting intensity of the abyss. It's no wonder so many people rushed to sign up. Fortunately, I acted fast. Come in and take a stroll, and you'll get the banknotes, so happy. Quote. Everyone behaved very leisurely and relaxed. I can't see the feeling of being in the battlefield at all. Boom, a hidden gate next door suddenly exploded. Qin Zi turned his head to look, only to see a big yellow shit bat rushing out. Advanced alienator. Qin Zi retreated quickly. Even humanoid combat weapons are difficult to deal with this alienated person. Not to mention the rotten garlic at the scene. As expected, the big bat that came out suddenly caused huge casualties to the team in the blink of an eye. Retreat. I have already notified the middle-level fighters who stayed behind. They are on their way to help. The leader shouted orders. It is worthy of being a warrior who has experienced the battlefield of the abyss. Even in the face of such emergencies, they can retreat in an orderly manner. Qin Zi took this opportunity to leave the team immediately. Head towards the alloy gate blocked by poisonous gas. With the administrator terminal in hand, Qin Zi is equivalent to having a full view perspective. All the way was unimpeded, and all the alienated people were bypassed by him. More than 10 minutes later, Qin Zi came to the poison gas. After a few clicks on the manager's terminal, the exhaust system started to run. In less than a minute, the poisonous gas in front of the alloy gate was exhausted. Qin Zi stepped forward, linked the administrator terminal with the alloy electronic lock on the gate. Linking. Link successful. Start authenticating. Visitor code 0000. Verification passed. Welcome home, administrator. The alloy gate slowly opened. Just halfway through, Qin Zi ducked in and closed the door immediately, full of poisonous gas. Qin Zi walked into the manager's office, pushed Lin Xiao's skeleton to the ground, and sat on the chair by himself. The artificial intelligence in the shelter. I am here. How much management authority do you still have in the Eastern District? 9%. Qin Zi called out Yao Yuan's photo. Tell me where this group of people is going. After a while, the shelter AI replied. The direction they are going is the gate of the Eastern District. The gate has been breached by aliens and built their nests there. What Qin Zi was most worried about happened. The door to leave the shelter was not entirely in his hands. The Eastern District is huge, and walking inside without a map is like a maze. In addition, there are so many alienated people there that the city defense department is too lazy to clean them up. The gate has never been found. However, the sudden riot of this wave of alienated people caused Yao Yuan to find the right direction by mistake. Push all the way in the direction where the alienated people keep appearing, and it won't take long to find the gate. Qin Zi frowned. Suddenly, I noticed that the red light in the lower right corner of the computer on the desk was blinking. Qin Zi tried to click the mouse. The screen lights up immediately. You have 3 unread messages. Qin Zi clicked on the email. The sending date of the first email was sent a month ago, that is, not long after Qin Zi left the foreign land. The content is very simple. Only 3 words. Who are you? The second email was half a month ago. Still the same content. Who are you? The third email was a week ago. Since there has been no reply, the other party seems a little irritable. If you don't reply, we will attack. All 3 emails had the same signature. Air Island Operation Command Center. Chin-Zi couldn't help but think of the alienation riot in the shelter recently. This is their attack. Isn't the enemy of Kong Kong Island the alienator? Why do alienated people obey them? Chin-Zi scratched his scalp. My head is itchy. I have to grow my brain. Chin-Zi tried to write a reply letter. Your father is here. Sent successfully. In less than 2 seconds, the other party answered. Who are you? Chin-Zi thought about the wording. I am not an expert in related fields, and I am not very good at answering who I am. As I said at the beginning, I am not an expert in this field. Send. Soon the other party replied. Question mark question mark question mark. Chin-Zi grinned. Meeting once, some words were made clear back then. This time it took 10 minutes for the other party to reply. After half an hour, an aircraft will stop at the gate of the shelter and pick you up to Sky Island. Chin-Zi called out an ordinary avatar. At the same time, Brother Swallow and F.A. Wong came out together. They have always possessed Chin-Zi. You go to take that aircraft in a while. Chin-Zi said to the ordinary avatar. The clone patted his chest. Oh. His Holiness asked, what are we doing? Chin-Zi smiled slightly. Of course it's a big event. Half an hour later, a silver-white shuttle-shaped aircraft slowly landed in front of the refuge gate. The avatar has been waiting for a long time. When the aircraft hatch opened and saw the people walking out, Chin-Zi couldn't help being surprised. You're not dead yet. Hey, this buddy has turned into a mummy and has to fly a plane. The fate of being a worker. Looking at the pilot who had turned into a skeleton, his right hand was still tightly gripping the joystick, the King of France couldn't help but sigh with emotion. Chin-Zi took Brother Swallow and F.A. Wong back to the place where the bomber crashed when he first entered the foreign land. It's been said that the pilot has been dead for at least 10 years, how did the plane take off that day? Brother Swallow asked curiously. The King of France thought for a while, maybe the plane's AI has set the bombing path in advance. Even if the pilot is dead, as long as the plane hasn't crashed, the AI will execute the bombing procedure over and over again. Brother Swallow and F.A. Wong discussed the cause of the pilot's death around the wreckage of the crash. The French king even lifted the cockpit cover and carried the pilot out. Then sit in and go up and down, left and right, a bob. Chin-Zi stood not far away and looked around. This is almost the highest point within a few kilometers. You can walk to Zhongcheng less than 1 kilometer ahead. All around is desert. The wind blows gently, rolling up the sky full of dust. Not a shred of green in sight. What the hell are we doing here? After experiencing the pilot, the king jumped to Chin-Zi's side. It directed me here. Chin-Zi opened his chest. The unremarkable little tree that Brother Biao gave him was shining with faint fluorescence at this time. As if breathing. Alive. F.A. Wong and Brother Swallow curiously touched it. It feels weird. From the moment he first entered the foreign land, Chin-Zi noticed the change of the key. It is like a compass, constantly guiding Chin-Zi in the direction. And the specific direction pointed, only he knows in his heart. This is also one of the reasons why Chin-Zi let the avatar board the plane to Sky Island. Compared to getting the soul orb, Chin-Zi now wants to figure out the key on his body more. Let's go. Start doing big things. Chin-Zi tidied up his skirt. Take Brother Swallow and F.A. Wong to the city center. There is exactly the direction indicated by the key. Good guy, you don't need a special set for a doomsday blockbuster here. Brother Swallow was amazed. The 3 of them looked around like curious babies while walking on the desolate streets in the city. Brother Swallow, I always feel that someone is watching us secretly. His Holiness, add 1. Chin-Zi had already discovered it. There are hundreds of clones talking in his mind every day, and his mental strength has already been tempered. Zilla. The Fawong turned into a bolt of lightning and rushed to the side of an abandoned car. Found you, little one. The Fawong threw an alienated person who was less than 1.3 meters tall and pale in color to Chin-Zi at Chin-Zi's feet. It's you. Chin-Zi recognized the little thing. It was the last time it was encountered at the crash site. I didn't expect to be alive. The little alienated man lowered his head, trembling. I remember you can talk. Chin-Zi asked. The little alienated person nodded timidly. I will, a little, a little. Brother Swallow touched his head. Do you think he looks like the group of alienated people we met at the Montenegro Research Institute last time? Chin-Zi frowned slightly. From the outside, they do look alike. But this little thing in front of me is more like a person, with more emotions, reactions, and even thinking about people. As for the Black Mountain Research Institute and the alienated people in the shelter, they are more like beasts that only know how to kill. Wisdom has been completely lost. The types of alienated people have begun to be subdivided. You, how, came out. The alienated man raised his head and looked at Chin-Zi cautiously. The little head is full of big doubts. The three of Chin-Zi quickly communicated in the local area network. See what this little thing means. Is there anyone else here? Where did you come out from? Sky Island. Didn't the Sky Island rebels specialize in hunting and killing supernatural beings? The three cobblers thought about it for a while, but they couldn't figure out why. Why can't we come out? Chin-Zi asked back. The little supernatural person replied anxiously. Can't come out, just can't come out. You have to go back quickly. You were discovered. No, okay. The Fawong raised his eyebrows. The legs grow on my body. I want to go wherever I want. No one cares. I want to be free. The little alienated man stomped his feet anxiously. The Patriarch. The Patriarch said, dangerous. Chin-Zi's eyes lit up. Finally captured the key information. Can you take us to meet your Patriarch? We have something to ask him. The little alienated man hesitated for a moment, and finally nodded. You, come, with me. The little alienator leads the way. The three of Chin-Zi hurriedly followed behind. A group of people shuttled through the ruins of buildings one after another. In the local area network, Brother Swallow asked, could it be a trap? Chin-Zi, now the place it takes us is the direction pointed by the key. Even if it is a trap, we have to go and see. F.A. Wong said. The last time this little thing's accomplices were beaten when they met each other, their combat effectiveness is just average. If it's all at that level, I can kill 7 of them in and out of their lair myself. Brother Swallow. 10 minutes later, the little alienator brought Chin-Zi and the three to a ruined building consisting of several buildings. A large space was dug out below, and there were hundreds of alienated people living in it. The concealment of this ruins is excellent. Just looking at it from the outside, it is impossible to imagine that there is such a large space below. Along the way, the alienated people around cast curious glances at Chin-Zi and the three of them. Their eyes were clear, only slightly flushed. There are even some alienated people with eyes exactly like human beings. Without exception, none of them had any intention of attacking the three of Chin-Zi. Traveling all the way to the deepest part of the ruins, Chin-Zi saw an extremely old alienated person. A rag was wrapped around his waist, and the skin on his body was wrinkled. But those eyes are no different from normal people. Profound and loving. Chin-Zi thought of the grandfather who was basking in the sun during the day by the flower bed in the community. Clan. I was out. Meet 3 people. The little alienated man came to the Patriarch and stammered about how he met Chin-Zi and the other 3. The Patriarch waved his hand, and the little alienated person bounced and played. What the hell are you guys? Chin-Zi asked in a deep voice. The Patriarch said softly, just like you, we are also human beings. Even if it was expected. But hearing the answer, Chin-Zi still felt a turmoil in his heart. Why did you become such a ghost? The Patriarch looked at Chin-Zi with deep eyes. It seems that you didn't come from there. Chin-Zi didn't pretend anymore. We come from a faraway place, and I can't explain to you exactly where. The Patriarch did not continue to ask. Come with me. The Patriarch got up, and continued to walk deep into the ruins with Chin-Zi and the others. The space inside becomes more and more narrow, and finally only one person can pass through. It was pitch black all around, and the Fawong had no choice but to add lightning to his body, using the faint electric light to see things. Arrive. The Patriarch stopped suddenly. With the dim light, Chin-Zi could clearly see the words on the sign above his head. This is the subway station. Zhongcheng Line 3, Beiji Station. In the real world, Chin-Zi remembers that Line 3 was just put into construction in the first half of this year. The entrance to the subway station in Yijingli has long been turned into ruins. The Patriarch did not continue walking forward, but raised his finger and pointed down to the entrance of the subway station. Go inside and you will get your answers. After saying this, the clan leader turned around and returned the same way without stopping. Brother Devour looked at the two of them. Can't you go down? Qin Zi nodded. I'm here, of course I have to go down and have a look. His Holiness also agreed. That's right. I feel like we are playing a single-player game right now and going through the story. What follows is most likely the final boss. Brother Swallow asked. If the boss is really going to be cleared next, can the three of us beat it? Qin Zi dragged the Dharma King to the first one. You go first. The Dharma King's eyes widened. Why? Qin Zi took it for granted. Who made you so bright? It's like a big light bulb. You go first for easy lighting. At critical moments, it can also attract firepower. The Dharma King rolled his eyes. The last sentence is probably the most critical. No more mother-in-law and mother-in-law. The Dharma King shook his arms and increased the current on his body to make himself brighter. Then he was the first to go. Qin Zi is the second, swallowing the second brother. After going down a flight of stairs, the three finally arrived at the subway platform. The platform was in a mess. The security doors were all shattered. A large section of the track was also broken. There are many damages to the walls of the tunnel. It can be seen that a fierce battle broke out here a long time ago. Both ends of the track are blocked. One end is full of broken bricks and rubble. The other end appears to be a door. There is nothing that Lao Dang couldn't explain it clearly at that time. The Riddler, right, the irritable Karmapa unleashed a bolt of lightning. Currents run wild in the subway station. Brother Devouring took a big step back. Oh, don't shock me. Click. Suddenly, the lights above the three of them lit up. The huge subway station was instantly brightly lit. The Dharma King put away the electric current on his body and said in confusion, I seem to have been electrocuted by the generator just now. Qin Zi walked to that door and looked at it carefully. The guardians on the left and right are by your side, and you are always aware of the happenings around you. This door is similar to the alloy portcullis in Vault 10. In the middle is a huge mechanical gear lock. It can be seen from the thick dust accumulated above that this door has not been opened for a long time. Unlike Vault 10, there are no numbers on the door. It can be concluded that it is not a shelter in the sequence. Thump thump. Is there anyone in there? Qin Zi raised his hand and knocked. There was no response for half a day. Impatient, the Fuang raised his hand and struck out a bolt of lightning. However, the powerful current failed to leave even a trace on the heavy alloy door, only dusting it off. Brother Devour said, It's a competition with the shelter gate. A beam of red light suddenly fell from the sky and enveloped the three people. At the same time, an electronic sound sounded from the door. Identification in progress. Recognizing. Identification completed. Humanity. Not in the citizenship sequence. Qin Zi, who was wearing a mask, raised his eyebrows. This detection method was the same as when he first entered the shelter. Seems to be done to verify the race of the visitor. That being the case, there is a high probability that there are living people inside. He raised his right hand with the manager terminal on it. I am the manager of vault number 10. I don't mean any harm, I just want to talk to the manager of your shelter. The red light was projected onto the terminal on Qin Zi's wrist again and scanned. After a moment, the red light disappeared. There was no response from the door either. Just when Qin Zi thought he had gained nothing, he was about to return without success. The mechanical gears on the gate began to rotate slowly. Click. The door opened. Me first. Brother Swallow was the first to go. His body is the hardest. If there is a real danger, you can use it as a human shield to delay time. Qin Zi and the King of France followed behind. The three walked through the gate cautiously. Bang! The gate closed again. Behind the door is a spacious hall. Further inside there is a closed alloy gate. At this time, a group of heavily armed soldiers was standing in the hall. More than 30 black guns were aimed at the three of Qin Zi. There are also 2 sentry machine guns and an oddly shaped cannon. This firepower is at least 10 times that of number 10 shelter. Qin Zi explained, we have no malicious intentions. The soldiers in the middle suddenly separated to the 2 sides, and a middle-aged man with a square face in military uniform came out. The man looked the three of them up and down, and then said in a deep voice. Welcome to Rebel Headquarters, mysterious outsider. Door of Vault 10. The clone looked at the BT coming out of the aircraft, and was very pleasantly surprised. I didn't expect you to come to pick me up. I thought you died in the siege of aliens that day. BT frowned slightly and remained silent. The detection beam on her body shot a red light towards the clone. After a scan, he focused on the terminal on his right hand. This is what Qin dug out from the drawer in the manager's office. There are 2 in total. One for the clone to wear. Another Qin is going to Yao Yuan. They are short-handed, after all they have eaten all the soul orbs. These 2 terminals are just appearances, without any management authority of the shelter. Identity confirmation, manager of Vault 10. Guests, please board the plane. BT's face was indifferent. The doppelganger stepped forward wonderingly. You don't know me anymore. Strips of data flashed in BT's eyes. The database has been searched, and we have not seen it. Doppelganger does not believe in evil. People bless all living beings, and all living beings accompany you. Dear human sir, I am humanoid combat weapon BT-21. Look, it's a human adult. Quote. Doppelganger repeats what BT said before. And vividly reproduce her reaction and expression. However, BT, what the hell are you talking about? Depend on. It seems that you really forgot about me. It is estimated that the 6th child deleted your memory program. The clone patted his forehead. BT said coldly, so do you still want to board the plane? The clone nodded. Of course. The aircraft is just right enough to seat 2 people. After the avatar fastened its seat belt, the engine of the aircraft started slowly, and it quickly rose from the ground and rushed out of the atmosphere. Are there any plastic bags? The doppelganger felt a tumbling sensation in his stomach. He was airsick. BT didn't answer and focused on driving. After leaving the atmosphere, the flight attitude finally stabilized. The avatar swallowed hard, but finally didn't spit it out. I go. So big. Not long after, a super large circular space station came into view of the clone. The aircraft docked precisely on the apron inside the space station. Here we are. BT left the hangar with the clone and walked through corridors. Along the way, the avatar didn't see a single person. My lord, the guests have arrived. The avatar followed BT to a hall. Welcome to Rebel headquarters. A wheelchair slid out from the next room. Seeing the person on the wheelchair, the face of the avatar suddenly changed. How could it be you? I didn't expect you, a fat man with thick eyebrows and big eyes, to be the commander-in-chief. The clone was stunned. Before landing on Sky Island, Qin had envisioned many possibilities. For example, the core AI has rebelled, coerced the emperor to order the princes, and controlled all humanoid combat weapons. Or Sky Island has already fallen, and it has become the base camp of alienated people. He even thought about the idea of humanoid combat weapons occupying the Earth. However, Qin never expected that Sky Island is not only fine. And the commander is also his good friend, a fat guy who played together since childhood. The fat man in the wheelchair had an unshaven beard, white hair, and a round body sitting in the wheelchair. Unlike the 18-year-old Qin, the fat people in this world have entered their twilight years, reaching the stage of soaking goji berries in their cups. I haven't been called this nickname for many years. It's really nostalgic. The fat man had a nostalgic look on his face. Your voice resembles an old friend of mine. Can you take off the mask and let me see your face? Qin slowly took off the mask, with mixed emotions in his heart. When seeing Qin face under the mask, even the fat man, who had been mentally prepared for a long time, couldn't help but be moved. Brother Z. The fat man with his wheelchair flashed in front of Qin in an instant. Qin raised his eyebrows. Sure enough, the fat people in this world have also awakened the innate ability of teleportation. Just now the distance between the two was 7 or 8 meters. This teleportation distance is even more terrifying than BT. It's so similar. The fat man reached out to touch Qin face, but the latter stepped back and avoided it. BT, you go to rest first. I want to catch up with my old friend. BT nodded and left indifferently. You probably have a lot of questions you want to ask me. Me too, actually. The fat man controlled the wheelchair and walked towards the next room. Qin followed. Pushing the door open, Qin found that this room was the main control room of the space station. Dozens of screens, large and small, are hung on the walls. There are countless buttons and manipulation switches. Qinzi couldn't help asking, "Can you handle these things by yourself?" The fat man smiled. "How is that possible? But I have assistants. Xing, here are 2 bottles of Coke." Moments later, a wastebasket-shaped white robot slid to the side of the wheelchair. The fat man opened the lid and took out 2 bottles of Coke, and handed one of them to Qinzi. "I remember you drinking this." "Thanks." Qinzi took the Coke. The wastebasket that completed the delivery task quickly returned to the same route. As you can see, Xing is the master control AI of Sky Island Space Station. I only need to give it verbal instructions, and I can indirectly complete all operations on the space station. Qinzi was thoughtful. What about the other people in the space station? Why didn't I see any of them? Fatty explained. The space station has limited resources, and everyone else is sleeping in the sleep cabin to save money. After all the alienated people on the ground are cleared, they will be awakened one by one according to the program and return to the ground to rebuild our home. Qinzi took a sip of cold cool and found a chair to sit down. There is a large transparent wall in the main control room, allowing you to see the starry sky outside. Looking at the slowly rotating nebula in the distance, Qinzi suddenly felt that he was extremely small. How did the alienated people come from? Can you tell me? Qinzi asked. The fat man nodded slightly. Of course, it's just that the story is a bit long. Qinzi shrugged. The most important thing I lack is time. The fat man looked at the vast sea of stars and spoke slowly. In 2030, abyssal tides become more and more frequent, more and more fissures appear on the Earth, and the speed of abyssal invasion is gradually accelerating. In the constant confrontation with the alien beasts, the warriors suffered heavy casualties. In order to reduce the mortality rate of warriors, Alpha Reagent was born. As we all know, the cells of alien beasts are very tough. Even the lowest level of alien beasts are physically stronger than the lowest level of warriors. This is how the concept of Alpha Reagent was born, which directly acts on the cells of alien animals, causing their cell tissues to collapse. Qinzi frowned slightly. Lin Xiao in the real world is also developing alpha reagents and has made initial progress. The Earth after a few decades of alien evolution. But it is a pity that after several years of research and practice, the alpha reagent can only be used on F-level alien beasts. Higher-level alien beasts are completely immune to the reagent. As a result, the research work on alpha reagents has completely failed. But not long after, Professor Lin Xiao, the general manager of the Alpha Reagent Project, came up with a genius idea. Since we can't easily destroy alien beasts, why don't we think of ways to mass-produce warriors? Soon, research began on a new reagent. The original solution of this reagent is taken from alien animals, and then through layers of screening, it can finally strengthen the cells of ordinary people. Even an ordinary person without any vitality will be able to compete with an inferior warrior after being injected with this reagent. After the injection, the warrior's combat power will be even higher. This reagent is the reverse alpha reagent. The fat man's mouth was dry and he took a sip of happy water. As you get older, why do you think this stuff tastes so bad? Qinzi said lightly, it's normal. Every age has things to do. The fat man smiled. You are still the same as before, talking nonsense. Immediately, he continued, with the anti-alpha reagent, warriors began mass production. We contained the tide of the abyss again, and even began to switch from defense to offense. Alien beasts are no longer the sword of Damocles hanging over human heads, and the abyss that once made people talk about it has become a testing ground for the human race. As there are fewer and fewer alien beasts, the tide of the abyss disappears, and the abyss begins to close little by little. But before long, everything changed. The fat man sighed, with an expression on his face that was both regretful and a little unwilling. Due to the continuous advancement of reverse alpha reagents, ordinary people can even become high-level warriors after being injected with advanced reagents. Those martial arts forces and families with resources began to monopolize the alpha reagent. At the same time, Wuhan University closed down, and the martial arts inheritance was completely cut off. If you want to become a warrior, you must join those forces and families and inject reagents. Qinzi was dumbfounded. It sounds very magical, but it does seem like something humans can do. Throughout history, resources have always been at the top of the pyramid. If the real world was not facing the crisis of genocide, martial arts would not have such a complete inheritance. Qin Zi said, "So where are the alienated ones? Why haven't you appeared yet?" The fat man smiled bitterly. Although the anti-alpha reagent is powerful, everyone knows that all the gifts of fate have already been secretly marked with a price. When the abyss was about to close, those who had been injected with the reverse alpha reagent began to transform into beasts. They became bloodthirsty and violent, and even completely lost their minds. The alienated ones are actually humans themselves. After listening to Fatty's story, the expression on Qin Zi's face was very complicated. The alien beasts failed to destroy humans in the end, but humans killed themselves. As the first-generation alienated queen broke free from the prison of the Black Mountain Research Institute, the situation completely spiraled out of control. Those alienated people responded to her call and made her their king. The abyss is closed, but mankind faces a greater threat from aliens. More than hundreds of millions of people have been injected with reverse alpha reagent. Due to the loss of martial arts, no one can stand up against the alienated people at this moment. In 2048, a shelter plan headed by Professor Lin Xiao and another Sky Island plan were proposed. Professor Lin Xiao advocates building large shelters for survivors to take refuge. Alienated people have no reason and thinking, and they will starve to death after a few decades. The Sky Island project uses the Sky Island space station as a base camp for survivors and sends humanoid combat weapons to the ground to take the initiative to annihilate the alienated people. In the end, neither side could convince the other, and each went his own way. The Sky Island and the 10 serial shelters were built in the same year, but the shelter plan only lasted for less than a year. 9 shelters fell one after another, and the number 10 shelter has been lost to this day. After finishing his words, Fatty's eyes fell on the administrator terminal on Qin Zi's wrist. Qin Zi changed the topic. "BT is very powerful, I have seen it with my own eyes. Sending robots to fight will not cause any casualties. Why doesn't Professor Lin agree with this plan?" This is what makes Qin Zi incredible. A large group of BTs rushed towards the alienators' base camp, and the queen had to kneel down and sing Conquest. Fatty shook his head. To a certain extent, the first batch of BT series humanoid combat weapons are not robots in the true sense. It is more appropriate to call them modified humans. Qin Zi called out to hold the grass in his heart. "What kind of flesh and blood is weak and the machine is soaring?" Fatty explained. The concept of humanoid combat weapons was proposed in the year when alienators appeared. Because AI was not that advanced at the time, information processing and on-the-spot reactions were completely inferior to the human brain, so this was the last resort. After some experiments, it was found that the physical condition of the female warrior is the most suitable for transformation. The first batch of humanoid combat weapons were selected from the few 21 female warriors at that time. Of course, they were also voluntary. After all, in that precarious environment, everyone wants to become stronger quickly. I am one of the leaders of the first batch of humanoid combat weapon projects. Since they have flesh and blood that can carry their natural abilities, I copied my teleportation ability to them through special means. Qin Zi was completely impressed by the fat man. Even natural abilities can be copied. "Great, my fat." The fat man seemed to understand what Qin Zi meant and said with a smile, "I am not responsible for the ability replication project, Professor Chen is in charge. He died in an alienator attack and did not catch up with the spaceship that landed on Sky Island. Otherwise, you can ask him." After a pause, Fatty continued. A few years later, the second batch of fully mechanized humanoid combat weapons began mass production. It's just that they are completely made of machinery and cannot bear the power. Their combat power will be reduced a lot, but it is enough to fight against superpowers. The reverse alpha reagent can actually be regarded as modifying the human body. Professor Lin has a lot of shadows about this. She is very resistant to the humanoid combat weapon project and is worried that the difficulties of alienated people will be reproduced. Professor Lin has always felt that the disaster of alienators was caused by her, and she should not have started the research and development of alpha reagent from the beginning. But if there is no anti-alpha reagent, how can humans defeat alien beasts? Qin Zi also saw this sentence in Lin Xiao's diary. This seems to be a dead end. Without reagents, Humans will die from alien beasts. With the reagent, we are faced with the disaster of alienated people. But how could the disaster of alienated people not be caused by human beings? If the martial arts inheritance continues, there will not be a large-scale alienation. It can only be said that humans are to blame. Where is the Wanzu? The Macaw tribe is known as the strategic partner of the human race, but they didn't help. This is also the strange point about Qinzi. Whether it's Lin Xiao's diary or the fat man's narration just now. Not a single mention of alien races. The fat man's face was full of confusion. What kind of pig is Maca pig? Qinzi twitched the corner of his mouth. Well, it seems there are no aliens in this world. So what is this? Evolved, but not fully evolved. The Sky Island Resistance Army is only on the Sky Island, doesn't it have ground troops? Qinzi asked curiously. The fat man frowned slightly. What do you mean? Qinzi scratched his head. When I left the shelter, I met 2 soldiers who claimed to be rebels. They wanted to take me to some headquarters. Hearing this, the fat man's breathing became rapid. He teleported forward and grabbed Qinzi's hand tightly. Where is their headquarters? Qinzi pulled his hand out forcefully. How do I know? My sister told me that boys should protect themselves when they go out alone. How can I go with 2 strangers casually? So they're yours too. The fat man shook his head, feeling disgusted, and gritted his teeth and said. They're not the rebels at all. They are traitors. A bunch of shameful traitors. ... Sky Island is not the headquarters of the rebel army at all. Lin Ziyuan is a shameful traitor. He betrayed humanity. In a spacious office, the man with a Chinese character in military uniform was roaring angrily. After confirming the identities of Qinzi's 3 humans, they were taken to the back of the second alloy gate. This station is much bigger than Qinzi imagined. It is estimated that at least 50,000 people lived there. The station is divided into several areas. Markets, living areas, planting areas, military camps. Crowded, but orderly. Qinzi couldn't help but sigh. The people who manage here are really talented. The manager terminal in Qinzi's hand proved his identity as the manager of vault number 10. The 3 of them were brought to this office by the Chinese character face. Through conversation, we learned that the man's name was Nangong Xingye, a 7th-level warrior and the commander-in-chief of the resistance army. Qinzi also asked him about the origin of the alienated people. Nangong Xingye's previous answer was very different from Fatty's, but when he mentioned the Sky Island Resistance Army later, he suddenly became excited and loudly denounced Fatty as a traitor. So, who is the traitor? After scolding him, Nangong Xingye finally calmed down. Sorry, I just lost my composure. Qinzi shrugged his shoulders and said it didn't matter. Can you tell me more specifically? What happened to Sky Island? Qinzi found it hard to believe that the fat man with thick eyebrows and big eyes would betray. Nangong Xingye sat down again and said in a deep voice, Lin Ziyuan is the lackey of the alienated queen. They have been secretly colluding together for a long time. The 3 of Qin and Zi had a quick chat in the local area network. Brother Devour, the water is a bit deep. Dharma King, Momojiji, just confront the fat man directly. Brother Devour, this is the final direction of the key. Qinzi, the subway is deeper. Dharma King, Dunama the Riddler, the key is also the Riddler, all the Riddlers should die. Streams of thunder rose up from the Dharma King's body. Nangong Xingye was inexplicably excited when he saw the electric man with his own eyes. It is a person with natural ability. Qinzi struck the Fawang's scalp with a slap, and the current was instantly extinguished. He has too much electricity and needs to be released occasionally. Nangong Xingye nodded. It's understandable given the talent. If you want to know more about it, I can tell you about the rebellion on Sky Island. Qinzi pulled up a chair and sat down, with the guardians on his left and right flanking him. Nangong Xingye poured a glass of water for Qinzi and then began his story. After the Sky Island was completed, the group advocating the attack took some of the poor people into the Sky Island. However, the evacuation was urgent and some people did not have time to board the ship. If they could survive, their current situation would not be like this. Oh, it's too far off topic. Qinzi remembered that Fatty also said this. A certain unlucky Professor Chen didn't have time to board the ship. Nangong Xingye frowned, and continued. Artificial intelligence has made breakthroughs in the near future, and humanoid combat weapons do not need to be modified on the basis of warriors, which means that they can be mass-produced. With the first batch of purely mechanical humanoid combat weapons put into use, the command has differences on the next development policy. Some people believe that the inheritance of martial arts should be restored. The hard truth is that one's own fists are strong, and foreign objects are just foreign objects after all. However, Lin Ziyuan, the general manager of the Humanoid Combat Weapon Project, believes that humanoid weapons are enough now, and they will take back everything we lost from the alienated ones. Sky Island's resources are limited, and the number of warriors is too small. Restoring the inheritance of martial arts is time-consuming and labor-intensive. It is better to focus all energy on the development of the next generation of humanoid combat weapons. Since the results of humanoid combat weapons were indeed good at that time, the headquarters first agreed to Lin Ziyuan's proposal. As time goes by, there has been no progress in the next generation of humanoid combat weapons. The main reason is that Professor Chen, who was responsible for copying the innate abilities, died. At this stage, humanoid weapons have no innate abilities and their combat effectiveness is greatly reduced. The headquarters lost patience and restarted martial arts. There are already so many resources on the Sky Island. If we restart martial arts, the resources for the humanoid combat weapon project will decrease. The conflict between Lin Ziyuan and the headquarters began to intensify. Until one day, Lin Ziyuan brought a group of alienated people to the Sky Island in a spaceship. Even after many years, Nangong Xingye still became extremely emotional when he recalled that scene. That was a massacre. At least 10,000 civilians died on the space station. That day, the high-level personnel of the headquarters were having a meeting. The high-level alienators rushed into the meeting room and everyone died. I took the rest of the people back to the ground in the rescue spaceship. Since then, I have been living in the dark subway, avoiding the pursuit of Lin Ziyuan and the alienated queen. The construction of Metro Line 3 was completed before the alienist disaster broke out. Moreover, Line 3 was used as a special shelter when it was first constructed. It can even withstand a nuclear bomb with a yield of 1 million tons. After the Sky Island project was completed, everyone had forgotten about Line 3. Unexpectedly, it was finally enabled. Nowadays, most of the Zhongcheng subway tunnels have collapsed, and only one section of Line 3 has been preserved. In the long subway tunnel that is broken into sections, trying to find the location of Nangong Xingye and the others is like looking for a needle in a haystack. Where were the humanoid combat weapons when the aliens raided the empty island? Qin Zi asked. Nangong Xingye gritted his teeth. All humanoid combat weapons have been sent out by Lin Ziyuan to perform tasks. From then on, the empty island was Lin Ziyuan's alone. After a moment, Nangong Xingye, who was emotionally restored, asked expectantly, "How many people are there in shelter number 10? How many warriors are there?" Qin Zi said calmly, "The people in Vault 10 actually died many years ago. The three of us came from a faraway place and accidentally gained access to Vault 10. Nangong Xingye's eyes dimmed instantly. "I knew it. I couldn't be more excited when I saw that the three of you were warriors. I thought the plan could finally be implemented." Qin Zi raised his eyebrows. "What plan?" Nangong Xingye took out a map, and a dot was circled on it. "There is an intact nuclear bomb silo here, buried 100 meters underground. I have the key." The alienated queen was unable to break through the defense of the nuclear bomb silo, leaving only a group of alienated people stationed there. "My plan is to restart martial arts, train a group of warriors to storm this place, and launch nuclear bombs to attack the alienated people's lair. Even if we can't kill the alienated queen, we can still eliminate 90% of the alienated people." Qin Zi looked at the circle on the map, and the key on his chest became hotter and hotter. He wants to take down this silo himself. "How many warriors do you have now?" Qin Zi asked. Nangong Xingye lowered his head and sighed softly. 123 low-level warriors, and 27 intermediate warriors. It will take at least one generation of hard work to have a sufficient number of warriors to carry out this plan. There are nearly 200 aliens stationed near the nuclear bomb silo. There are also 2 high-level alienators among them. To be on the safe side, at least 200 warriors are needed. With the existing resources of the subway, this plan will take another 70 years, nearly a generation. Are there enough people now? Qin Zi's voice rang in his ears. Nangong Xingye raised his head and was stunned when he saw the scene in front of him. I saw that in his big office, nearly 100 people wearing various masks of cats, dogs, birds and beasts suddenly appeared. Through qi and blood induction, the average level of these people is between 0.8 and 0.9. Nangong Xingye's eyes widened. Your innate ability is to manipulate corpses. Hearing this, the clones were unhappy. You are the dead body, your whole family is dead. We are his father. What a bullshit look. I'll give you a chance to reorganize the language, old dang. Quote. After being greeted warmly by the avatars from Zuan, Nangong Xingye finally came back to his senses. Hug, sorry. Qin Zi. So, is it enough? Nangong Xingye couldn't help nodding. Enough. This was the first time he had seen this weird ability. Qin Zi tapped the table with his right index finger. Now, I have one last question. What happened to those alienated people outside the subway station? Nangong Xingye said helplessly, They're just a bunch of hardworking people. Those fools shelter alienated people. The fat man was filled with righteous indignation. The violent mood swings made him cough uncontrollably. The Queen of Alienation has occupied the Montenegro Research Institute. Inverse alpha reagents are continuously being produced in order to assimilate the rest of the people into her companions. The reagent was directly used by her as artificial rainfall. The survivors were all infected. As a result, those fools shielded the infected, saying that they were not completely alienated. Pure shit. The process of alienation is irreversible. Instead of waiting until they are completely alienated, it is better to clean them up now when they are not a threat. Cough. Qin Zi was puzzled. Didn't all the survivors enter the refuge and the empty island? How could some people get caught in the rain? The fat man sneered. Whether it is a shelter or an empty island, the accommodation space is very limited. Do you really think that everyone can enter? Those people caused the alienation crisis back then, and they also firmly grasped the chance to survive later. As for ordinary people, they are no different from ants in their eyes. Some people headed by General Nangong want to take control of humanoid combat weapons from me, so I naturally disagree. So a chaotic battle broke out in the space station. Fortunately, most of the security guards were on my side, and they all fled to the ground in the end. After the end of that battle, the resources of the Sky Island became more tense, and other people had to enter the hibernation cabin to hibernate. Qin Zi was curious. Why don't you let humanoid combat weapons participate in the battle? The fat man shook his head. The bottom-level logic of AI is to protect human beings and respect them. This cannot be changed. No matter when, they will not do anything that harms the interests of human beings. Except for the first batch of BT series, they are the foundation of the human brain after all. However, after the transformation, their original human memory will also disappear. Qin Zi said, the last time BT met me, why did they forget me? The fat man sighed. When I sent other humanoid combat weapons to find BT, she was seriously damaged. Although she was able to resume operation in the end, the memory module cannot be restored, so naturally she won't remember you. Qin Zi still has a few questions to ask. The fat man suddenly glanced at the time and said, It's getting late, I have to go to lunch. I, an old man, am not as energetic as you at 18. You can be as crazy as you want, and call Xing if you have something to do. Fatty manipulated the wheelchair, turned and left the main control room. Qin Zi nodded secretly. Wheelchairs are really fun to play with. Galaxy. Qin Zi called out tentatively. I am here. I want to check the logs related to the space station. Sorry, you do not have sufficient access rights. Reverse alpha reagent. Retrieval completed. Dozens of pages of documents appeared on a screen in front of Qin Zi, and he spent half an hour browsing through them. No problem. But fat man, you have a problem. They retain a part of the human mind. I'm not as crazy as Lin Ziyuan, and I really can't treat them as aliens. We can only let them camp outside, and occasionally we will provide some necessary help and material gifts. Nangong Xingye sighed heavily. Qin Zi smiled lightly. You are really a kind person. Nangong Xingye shook his head. a good person doesn't dare to be a good person. They are born from the same root, so why rush each other? What I can do is to make life better for these poor people. But after we take down the nuclear bomb silo and solve the alien crisis, we will return to the surface and bring them to a new life together. Qinzi waved his hand. How to meet life is up to you, I just want to know when I can act. Nangong Xingye said. Give me a day to make plans and mobilize, and we will set off at this time tomorrow. With a big wave of Qinzi's hand, the avatar disappeared and returned to him in an instant. Nangong Xingye was shocked again. It's an incredible ability. After leaving the office, the three of Qinzi were taken to the accommodation area by a soldier. Nangong Xingye called in another young man wearing glasses. You go and inform that old thing outside, and ask him to pick out 200 young and middle-aged men to act with us tomorrow. The man with glasses nodded. Yes. Commander, can we really succeed? Nangong Xingye gritted his teeth. Whether we succeed or not, this is our last chance to take back the empty island. The man with glasses nodded in understanding and went to carry out Nangong Xingye's order. Qinzi lay on the bed, recalling the previous conversation with Nangong Xingye over and over again. Nangong Xingye is too old and kind. A purely good old man would never be able to bring so many people alive. Boom! The bedroom door suddenly opened. His Holiness is holding a man in glasses who is tied into a rice dumpling. This old boy went to Na Lao Deng's office, and then left the subway station through a secret passage. He didn't know what he was doing. Qinzi stepped forward and tore off the tape on the man's mouth. What is your name? The man with glasses trembled and turned his head to one side. He just kept silent. Qinzi smiled, still proud. I leave it to you, Brother Swallow. Brother Devour licked the corner of his mouth and lifted the man with glasses up with one hand. In the bespectacled man's horrified eyes, Brother Devour's body swelled. Arms and arms stretched out from the back and sides of the body, and a huge mouth opened on the abdomen. Wait! Before the man with glasses could finish speaking, he was thrown into the mouth by Brother Devour. What's the situation? You shouldn't be the first to interrogate me, and I resist. If you try again, I will resist again. After that, you used money to bribe me, will I speak again? Unfortunately, the script did not go as expected by the man with glasses. Hi! After returning to normal, Brother Swallow took out a handkerchief from his coat pocket and wiped the corners of his mouth. Qinzi and the clones immediately shared memories. This is the ability gained by Brother Devouring after his breakthrough. Able to obtain the memory of the devoured individual 1 month ago. This ability can grow. The higher Brother Devouring's cultivation level, the longer the memory he obtains. The bespectacled man grew up in the subway and had never experienced the Sky Island age. The education he received since he was a child was also instilled in him by the subway. Qinzi captured the conversation between the man in glasses and Nangong Xingye in the office after they left. Recapture Sky Island. After so many rounds of chess, for the first time someone regarded us as pawns. Lightning rose from Fa Wang's body. I knew this old boy was not a good person. Brother Devour. Then shall we go tomorrow? Qinzi glanced at the key on his chest. Of course. Tomorrow we will show him our superb chess skills. Sky Island. Qinzi spent a day wandering around the space station. After having dinner with Fatty at night, I went back to my room to sleep. Late at night, the door was suddenly opened. A dark shadow appeared beside the bed. While sleeping, Qinzi's right hand was slowly raised. As fake, Fatty's angry roar sounded in the darkness. You seem disappointed. The fat man turned his head. Qinzi woke up at some point. He was lying on his side on the bed, with his head supported on one hand and the other arm flat on his side. Enchanting. Snapped. Fatty threw the terminal to the ground, and it was torn apart. You fool me. His fierce eyes fixed on Qinzi on the bed. Where is the kindness and kindness in the daytime? It is a raging beast. Qinzi yawned lazily. About the empty island story you told me during the day, I have another version here. Would you like to hear it? The fat man narrowed his eyes slightly. Qinzi said to himself, decades ago, someone wanted to ensure the smooth development of the next generation of humanoid combat weapons. I don't know how to send the alienated person to the space station. Those who opposed him are all dead, so they can only return to the ground to linger. The fat man was silent. Puff. Ha 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 ha. He suddenly burst out laughing. Looks like you've seen them before. Qinzi shook his head. Fatty, I didn't expect you, with thick eyebrows and big eyes, to become a villain boss one day. Last time, you were the one who leaked the information and the safe house was exposed, right? The alienated people in the number 10 shelter are also your handwriting. The fat man shook his head. The last incident was an accident. I really want to bring you to Sky Island to chat. The alienated queen is also curious about you, so I chased you all the way. As for the exposure of the safe house, it is because the communication channel of the humanoid combat weapon was cracked by the alienated queen. She was like me back then. Although she never went to Wuhan University, she was also a top student. I don't know exactly what's going on in Vault 10. The email is just threatening you. As for the so-called villain boss, then I'm going to ask you a question. What is a good person and what is a bad person? Qinzi was about to speak, but the fat man interrupted him. Do you know why my legs are missing? The fat man bent down, and the 2 artificial limbs were removed by him. When my father died, the company was divided up by a group of warriors, and my legs were their masterpieces. I hated it then. Hate me for not being able to cultivate, hate me for not being a person with natural abilities. Are they good people? The more the fat man spoke, the more excited he became, and it turned into a growl. The world has become what it is today because of warriors. They can hide in the shelter, hide in the space station. What about those ordinary people? I can only wait to die. They said grandly that they are our companions without complete alienation. Joke. They just need a group of dogs that can move on the ground and help them do things. Come and tell me, are they good people? It was Qinzi's turn to be silent. In the real world, warriors cannot be said to be good, otherwise there would be no fairness. But it can't be said to be that evil. After all, they have always been on the front line against alien beasts. The fat man continued to growl. They shouldn't have restarted martial arts back then, and martial artists shouldn't have existed. Their existence will only make this world worse and worse. I want to create a new world without warriors. Qinzi raised his eyebrows. It turns out that this is the key point. What resource contention is just an introduction. The moment Nangong Xingye and the others proposed to restart martial arts, Fatty never thought of letting them live. Qinzi was speechless. No wonder the world is going to end. Everyone was really crazy about it. Nangong Xingye's purpose in obtaining the deadly weapon was not to eliminate the alienated people, but to use it against the empty island in the sky. Over the years, Fatty has also been racking his brains to figure out how to catch people in the subway. Externally, it is obedient, but internally, it is right to strike hard. Qinzi said, have you ever thought that everyone in the subway is dead and you are the only human being left? You want to create a new world where it's just you. The fat man grinned. There are 1 million human fertilized eggs in the empty island. After I eliminate the rats in the subway, I will focus on annihilating the aliens. At that time, all the fertilized eggs will be hatched. Human beings in the future will not need to learn any martial arts. Humanoid combat weapons will protect them. This is engraved in the lowest level of logic. The fat man became more and more excited as he talked, his face full of yearning. Without warriors, there will be a new world where everyone is equal and absolutely fair. For the sake of the new world, I now need you to contribute the management authority of Vault 10. The fat man looked at Qinzi. The space station does not have much nuclear fuel, not enough to create a nuclear bomb that can destroy the entire Line 3. I need the nuclear reactor and fusion core in Vault 10. When the new world is built, you and I will be crowned kings. Qinzi sighed. It's really fair. The new world hasn't even come out yet, and I'm already thinking about becoming a king. The fat man put away his smile and showed a cold look on his face. Qinzi, I'm not discussing with you. I know you are not the Qinzi I knew you to be, and I don't care where you are from. As long as you hand over your authority to Vault 10, I will give you everything you want. Qinzi put away his charm and sat up. What if I don't? Fatty, BT, who had been guarding the door for some time, flashed in. Looking at the indifferent BT, Qinzi smiled. No wonder you shut down all the humanoid combat weapons except for the BT. After all, except for the first generation, no other humanoid combat weapons can harm humans. The fat man sneered. This is why I spent so much effort to save her. Now BT only listens to my orders. Qin Zi sighed. Zushu, what I hate the most is threats from others. As soon as he finished speaking, Qin Zi's skin started to turn red. The fat man had an ominous premonition. What are you going to do? The corner of Qin Zi's mouth raised. For the sake of our acquaintance in another time and space, I will tell you a secret. The group in the subway found a launch silo guarded by aliens more than 100 miles south of Zhongcheng. At 9 o'clock this morning, they were preparing to take down the silo. Guess who they're going to shoot with? While Fatty was stunned, Qin Zi exploded with a boom. Commander, be careful. BT stood in front of Fatty and deployed a nitrogen shield to block all the explosions. The fat man frowned. These rats. But it's okay, they took the initiative to come out of the mouse hole, which saved me a lot of trouble. The next day. Everyone, we are ready to go. Nangong Xingye opened the door and was stunned when he saw the scene in the living room. Robbing the landowner. Why does this energy bar taste so bad? Donama, be quiet, I'm practicing. What time is it? Are you still letting people go to bed? Quote. Dozens of clones were noisy. Some were playing cards, some were sleeping, and some were tasting subway specialties. Where is the tension before the war? Nangong Xingye swallowed. I must be opening the door wrong. Lao Dang, what's the matter? Hearing the sound of the door opening, the clones turned their heads and looked over. Nangong Xingye was at a loss for a while. Well, it's time to leave. A clone who was fighting landlord stood up and said, wait, I'll call our boss. After a moment, Qin Zi came out with Brother Swallowing and Dharma King. Nangong Xingye said, everything is ready. Qin Zi nodded and greeted the clones. Gone. The clone put down what he was doing and followed Qin Zi out without looking back. Nangong Xingye's face was filled with envy. He also wanted to have such a group of loyal subordinates. Nangong Xingye believes that Qin Zi's innate ability is a large space that can be carried around. These subordinates usually stay in the space and only appear at critical moments. Nangong Xingye had seen similar abilities before, but it was not as exaggerated as Qin Zi's and could fit so many people into the space. Parked on the track was a subway train made up of several open-top carriages. More than 100 heavily armed warriors were bidding farewell to their relatives. There were small sobs everywhere, and the scene was filled with an extremely sad atmosphere. Suddenly, a large group of guys wearing various animal masks and uniform black and white uniforms appeared on the platform. Each of these people seemed carefree and made comments about the things around them from time to time. Good guy, steam locomotive, this thing is from a museum. It's so boring. When are we leaving? When the nuclear bomb is launched later, can I personally press the launch button? I want to eat shit. Why are they crying? Probably because I'm going to die later. Wuyuzi, just die, there is nothing to cry about. Quote. The warrior and his relatives who were bidding farewell were stunned by the clone's outrageous speech. They have never seen such a brave person who is not afraid of death. Even Nangong Xingye and the adjutant beside him couldn't help but admire him. No wonder the commander is determined to win. This group of people is simply more terrifying than the dead. Nangong Xingye said calmly. The origins of this group of people are somewhat mysterious, but it is no longer important now. After we take down the silo, we will have plenty of time to investigate. Nangong Xingye looked around. Where's Shaoan? Shaoan is a man with glasses. After he came back from outside and returned to Nangong Xingye last night, he was eaten by Brother Devour as a snack. The adjutant replied, I don't know where I went. I didn't see anyone early in the morning. Maybe I was scared. Nangong Xingye frowned. It's really embarrassing for the Nangong family. I'll settle the score with him when I come back. When the time came, Nangong Xingye came to the group of warriors and began to mobilize before the war. For 40 years, we have lived in this dark subway for 40 years. In the past 40 years, we have restarted the martial arts inheritance and trained more than 100 warriors. We finally have the strength to gain a foothold again. Although we are still very small in the face of endless alienators like a colony of ants. But a single spark can start a prairie fire, and we will make that first spark today. Today we will return to the surface and declare war on the alienated ones. I know that many people may fall, but the successors will use you as a monument to carry forward the future. You will be the heroes of the new world, forever immortal. The warriors are full of fighting spirit. War. 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 The Dharma King turned to look at Qinzi. By the way, should we also do a pre-war mobilization? Qinzi thought for a while and said, on the land. Work hard and try to let me drive a Land Rover as soon as possible. Grass. Times 99. ... Get aboard. Following Nangong Xingyi's order, everyone boarded the carriage. Dharma King and Brother Devouring took their clones and sat in the carriage at the back. Qinzi and Nangong Xingye are at the front of the car. Nangong Xingye said in a deep voice, I will take charge of the 2 high-level alienators, and you can clean up the remaining miscellaneous soldiers. Strive to end the battle within 20 minutes. After taking care of the 2 high-level alienators, I will immediately enter the silo and launch the nuclear bomb. Qinzi nodded. No problem. 15 minutes later, the subway stopped. Get off. This is the nearest exit. There are only the last 2 kilometers left to the launch silo. A team of more than 200 people slowly left the subway station. The clones didn't react at all. The warriors all had tears in their eyes. Some people even knelt down and kissed the ground. These people were born and raised in the metro, and this was their first time seeing the sun. Qinzi looked up at the sky. The performance starts soon. Fat man, don't be late. ... Exit from the side of Shelter 10. The corpses of alienated people were spread all over the ground. Yao Yuan flipped his wrist and put away his sword. Did you feel it? Asked the leader of the Macaw tribe on the side. Yao Yuan nodded. It's true, the key's guidance is getting stronger and stronger. The leader of the Macaw clan frowned slightly. Besides us, there is also a key. The corner of Yao Yuan's lips curled up. It seems that someone has already taken a step ahead of us. Leader. Fair meeting, Yao Yuan said calmly. Who knows? But we have to speed up. Any slower and you won't even be able to drink the soup. The 2 men burst out with blood and quickly ran away into the distance. For a moment, where Yao Yuan and the group leader disappeared, ripples appeared in the space. Pisces and Aries appear. Looking at the blue crystal ball in Aries' hands, Pisces is full of curiosity. What is this? It can actually become completely invisible and erase all traces of us. Aries glanced at Pisces and hummed. The lion gave it to me. This is called the source of the world. Even if you tell me, you won't understand. Pisces gritted his teeth in his heart. How can I understand if you don't tell me? The last operation failed, so this time he was just a deputy. I was so full of anger along the way that I could only endure it. The mantis stalks the cicada, but the oriole follows behind. Aries looks excited. He had a hunch. Today he, Aries, is going to make great achievements. Looking at the impatient Aries, Pisces glanced at the other person and quickly followed. Qinzi and Nangong stood on a hillside. The main force was hidden in the hollow behind. Not far down the mountain is a small military base. The silo is in the center of the base. More than 100 alienated people are entrenched in the base. 2 of the big shit yellow bats hung upside down on the water tower, motionless. Qinzi turned his head and looked in the other direction. He felt 2 familiar fluctuations. Is the key? Qinzi was shocked. Your key is not the only one. At the hotel banquet, his words really came true. Do aliens really have keys on their bodies? What's wrong? Nangong noticed something strange about Qinzi. Qinzi shook his head. When will we attack? Nangong looked at the military base. Wait a moment. Suddenly, a large group of alienated people swarmed down the mountain from the opposite hillside. They were holding different steel rods in their hands, and they looked like they were ready to die. Nangong Xingye explained. The clan leader heard that we were going to attack the alienated people, so he specially gave us support. Qinzi smiled half-heartedly. The person who came up with the idea of letting them station at the subway entrance is really a genius. I usually look after homes and homes, but I can also be used as cannon fodder at critical moments. The corners of Nangong's mouth twitched stiffly a few times. At the bottom of the mountain, the group of semi-alienated people had already rushed into the base. Chapter 71. The semi-alienated people rushed into the base, and the sleeping alienated people woke up one after another. A bloody close quarters fight ensued. Also infected with the reverse alpha agent, Semi-alienated people retain most of the physical signs of humans because they are not completely alienated. The claws are not as sharp as the alienated ones, and the teeth are not as sharp as the alienated ones. Therefore, at the beginning of the battle, it was almost a one-sided massacre of alienated people. With just one encounter, the blood of the semi-alienated people stained the earth red. Their torn internal organs and broken limbs were everywhere. The two high-level alienators on the water tower haven't even taken action yet. Even so, the semi-alienated ones are still coming one after another. For them, death seems like a relief. I'm curious, what exactly did you promise them that made them work so hard? Qin Zi couldn't help but ask. Nangong Xingye said calmly, it's nothing, a place in the new world. Even if they are not completely alienated, their brains are not as good as before. With a little bit of a blank check, they can put everything they have into it. Nangong Xingye crossed his arms across his chest and stared at the battlefield below. There was no emotion on his face as he watched the semi-alienated people falling down like wheat. Just cannon fodder, if you die, you will die. For a moment, Qin Zi even agreed with Fatty's proposal. A world without warriors seems pretty good. Although there are more than 200.5 alienated people who have an advantage in numbers, their combat power is far behind. In less than 10 minutes, there were almost no semi-alienated people still standing at the entrance of the base. Those semi-alienated people who were cut off at the waist and were not dead yet dragged their tattered bodies to bite the alienated people's legs. Even before he could touch the other person, his head was trampled into a puddle of meat. Nangong Xingye looked back. It's really vulnerable. I hope they can delay it for a while. But no matter what, the alienated person's physical strength and energy have been consumed a lot. It's our turn next. Nangong Xingye waved his hand. The warriors hiding in the depression at the back stepped forward one after another. They kept taking deep breaths and cheering themselves up in their hearts. After all, it is the first time for recruits to enter the battlefield. It is unrealistic to say that they are not afraid. Some people even have their legs shaking uncontrollably. In contrast, the clones were already eager to try. After getting the signal from Qin Zi's eyes, they rushed down the mountain howling like wild dogs. One by one, they passed by the subway warriors with a whoosh, making the warriors feel confused. The Lightang breakthrough hand ox warrior applies to fight. Don't try to get the first kill with me. Can you please stop giving it away and hold on still? Father of the gods, grant me vision. Self-destruction team, please run slowly. It's not time for you to explode yet. If you can run as fast as me, then this thing is really hot. Quote. In just a few seconds, the clones had rushed to the foot of the mountain. There were about 100 people, and they shouted with the momentum of thousands of troops. Even the alienated people in the military base couldn't help but be stunned. When Nangong Xingye saw this scene, he couldn't help but sigh. This is the real warrior. If he could have such a group of subordinates, let alone retaking Sky Island, even conquering the world would be just around the corner. The subway warriors were also infected by the emotions of the clones. If the man dies and the bird falls to the sky, it's over. Kill, kill, kill. After this fight is over, I will go back and confess my love to her. Chong duck. The subway warriors followed him down the mountain. At the same time, the clone at the front was already fighting against the alienated person. After all, they share the same CPU, so the cooperation between the clones is truly authentic. Groups of 3. The predecessors used false sleep to lure the enemy. The one on the side is responsible for feint attack. The ones behind took the opportunity to launch a fatal sneak attack. The low-level alienators at the gate were quickly cleared away. Although some alienated people are more fierce, unfortunately they have no brains and just know how to run rampant. It doesn't take long for the clones to kite them to death. The base has only one entrance and is surrounded by 3-meter-high walls. The entrance can only accommodate a maximum of 3 people entering abreast. The clones and the more than 200 subway warriors were completely unable to expand. Demolition team, enter. Several clones immediately spread themselves on the wall like big cakes. With several deafening explosions, a 30-meter section of the wall was blown down. All the subway warriors who saw this scene had red eyes. This is the true warrior. In order to bring humans back to the surface, they are willing to sacrifice everything they have. The subway warriors were completely infected by this selfless spirit. Many people even ran in front of the clones. This can't help but make the clone confused. Hey, don't take my head. As the wall was blown open, more than 200 people spread out and poured into the base. The two high-level alienators hanging upside down on the water tower suddenly opened their eyes. They spread their wings more than 3 meters long and swooped down quickly from high altitude, setting off a hurricane on the ground. The clones and subway warriors who were caught off guard were blown away. The aliens took this opportunity and immediately pounced on them, grabbing them wildly, and their chests were all scratched to pieces. After the two high-level alienators pulled up, they were preparing to dive again. Your opponent is me. Nangong, who was on the hillside, kicked his legs hard, and his whole body was ejected like a cannonball. One of the senior alienators was distracted and punched to the ground. The other alienated people grabbed Nantong's shoulders with both hands and kept rolling deathly in the air. Nangong Xingyi's right fist violently penetrated the alienated person's wing. The alienated person screamed in pain and hurriedly distanced himself. The high-level alienator who fell to the ground shook his head, roared angrily towards the sky, and pounced on Nangong Xingye again. Should we go over and help? His Holiness asked. The three of them were still watching the battle on the mountain. Qin Zi said calmly, if Nangong Xingye, a 7th-level warrior, can't even deal with two brainless alienators, he can commit suicide and apologize. If you have nothing to do, you can go to the ground battlefield to assist. The Dharma King, who had been impatient for a long time, flashed with thunder and rushed into the base. Give it to me. Brother Devourer also felt a little itchy. What about me? Qin Zi looked at the launch silo in the center of the base and raised the corners of his mouth. You accompany me to steal the chicken. Taking advantage of the chaos in the sky and underground, Qin Zi successfully arrived at the control room of the launch silo under the escort of Brother Devourer. The door of the control room is also a gear gate made of special alloy. Its sturdiness can be imagined. Nangong Na Lao Dang didn't give us the key, how can we open the door? Brother Devouring was vigilant to prevent any alienated people from attacking him. Qin Zi pulled out a data cable from the administrator's terminal and connected it to the door. Permission verification in progress. Permissions are being verified. Verification passed. Rumble. The gear lock on the door began to turn slowly. Qin Zi put away the terminal. The administrators of the shelter have very high authority. All the doors before the war are out of the question. Sensing Nangong's gaze in the sky, Qin Zi raised his head and looked at him. From Nangong's face, Qin Zi saw a little panic. Lao Dang, do you really think I'm a trickster? The door is half open. Qin Zi and Swallowing Brother bent over and got in, then quickly closed the door. The door to the control room hadn't been opened for decades, and the air was filled with a decaying smell. The moment he entered the control room, the guidance of the key on Qin Zi's chest became more and more intense. Qin Zi came to the console and used the terminal to connect again. Permission verification in progress. Permissions are being verified. Verification passed. Please enter the strike coordinates. Qin Zi did some research and found out. The nuclear bomb in the silo is not an ordinary nuclear bomb. 5 kilometers to 50,000 kilometers. In the sky and on the earth, hit where you point. It only takes one shot to kill Sky Island. Behind the console is a transparent glass curtain wall, behind which is the silo. At this moment, Qin Zi could see the black-painted missile standing quietly. The hunting ability has been obtained. Please start cleaning up the world from pollution. Hunting in progress 23 hours 59 minutes and 59 seconds. An extremely solemn voice suddenly sounded in Qin Zi's faint mind. It's you. Qin Zi looked down at the key on his chest. The sound just now was made by the key in his mind. Why are you talking? The sound is weird. Say one more word and I'll listen. Can you change to Yu Jia's voice? Are you talking? Quote. No matter how hard Qin Zi yelled, the key just kept silent. In my mind, the 24-hour countdown continues. Clean up the pollution. So who is the pollution of this world? Fatty. Subway resistance. Or alienated? Qin Zi looked at the strike map on the electronic screen. Somehow, the key pointed to one of the coordinates. Qin Zi zoomed it in quickly. Black Mountain Research Institute. At this moment, Qin Zi suddenly realized. He seems to know the purpose of evolution in foreign lands. Qinzi put his hands on the keyboard and entered the coordinates of the Montenegro Research Institute. You really didn't die. So the one yesterday was a robot. A familiar voice sounded behind him. Qinzi turned around and saw the fat man appearing at the door in a wheelchair. The door is halfway open. It's not just you who has authority. It's also thanks to you, otherwise I wouldn't have discovered this big killer. The fat man looked obsessively at the missile behind Qinzi. I'm wearing a mask, how did you recognize me? Qinzi was curious. The fat man pointed to his nose. Your breath is the same as yesterday. Qinzi looked at brother swallowing beside him. What about him? The fat man frowned. It smells very familiar, it's disgusting. Suddenly, his eyes widened. This is the breath of the abyss. Qinzi smiled. It really is a dog's nose. Mother-in-law, what are you talking about, are you okay? A charming and pleasant voice came from behind the slowly opening gate. When the door was fully opened, Qinzi couldn't help but widen his eyes when he saw the person outside the door. It's here. Yao Yuan and the head of the Maka clan ran all the way to the foot of Montenegro. In the distance, countless alienated people can be seen wandering back and forth in the mountains. Why is it here? Yao Yuan couldn't help frowning slightly. Has a problem. The head of the Maka tribe tensed up and looked around vigilantly. Can't wait for a pair of eyes to grow on the back of the head. Every world hunt is extremely dangerous, no amount of caution can be overstated. Yao Yuan shook his head. It's nothing, maybe I'm thinking too much. If he remembers correctly, this mountain in the real world is a research institute. This is where the pollution comes from. The countdown to the hunt has begun. The leader of the Maka tribe said solemnly. Yao Yuan was confused. Why isn't the other key here? He obviously started the hunting mission. The leader of the Maka tribe grinned. I guess he is a new hunter who hasn't figured out the rules yet. It just so happens that the source of the world is ours. Yao Yuan confirmed again. The third key was not present. Temporarily suppressing his doubts, Yao Yuan looked at Haishan. Let's begin then. Yao Yuan flipped his right wrist and placed the long sword in his hand. With a slight slash, a sword energy several meters long swept out. A dozen aliens who were still lazily basking in the sun directly in front were cut in half by the sword energy in the blink of an eye. This sword was like a ladle of cold water poured into a pan, and the whole black mountain boiled instantly. Roar. Deafening roars came one after another. The aliens halfway up the mountain noticed Yao Yuan and the leader of the Maka tribe. Hundreds and thousands of alienated people poured down the mountain like a tide, and they were all yellow in color, like a cesspit bursting its banks. Yao Yuan remained calm and threw the sword into the sky. The long sword divides 1 into 2, 2 into 4, 4 into 8. Like a peacock spreading its tail, nearly 100 swords were unfolded above Yao Yuan's head. Disease. Yao Yuan pointed his index finger lightly at the alien who was rushing toward him. The dense long swords formed a long dragon, whistling and strangling towards the group of alienated people. Hundreds of long swords flew up and down quickly, creating a bloody storm. The leader of the Maka clan stepped heavily on the ground with his right foot. Hot and raging purple flames burst out from the leader's feet. The leader's whole body was on fire. Burning in the physical sense. Burn. A 10-meter-long wave of purple fire soared into the sky from the group leader and slammed into the group of alienated people. The fire wave exploded after hitting the ground, and dozens of alienated people were swallowed up by the flames. The air was filled with the smell of burnt meat. The alienated ones under the mountain were cleared by Yao Yuan and the leader of the Maka tribe in one round. The two of them didn't stop for even a moment and continued to drive toward the top of the mountain. Wherever he passed, there were broken limbs and broken arms everywhere. The middle and low-level alienated people will return to dust and earth to earth once they meet each other. Only high-level alienators can persist for a moment longer. While Yao Yuan and the leader of the Maka tribe were killing each other, Pisces and Aries were secretly observing from a distance. Too cruel. Aries couldn't help but smacked his lips. Pisces feels average. Yao Yuan has not yet used the sword he used in the hotel that night. That is truly shocking, making ghosts and gods weep. What are they doing? Pisces was a little confused. Yao Yuan and the foreign leader came to Black Mountain and started killing without saying a word. Haven't you killed enough of the aliens in the shelter? Aries said calmly. They are on a world hunting mission. Pisces was confused. What is world hunt? Aries glanced at him. The world hunting mission is the world hunting mission. Forget it, you won't understand even if I explain it to you. Why don't you explain it? Pisces gritted his teeth. He really wanted to punch Aries hard on his face. Pisces is a new zodiac sign that was recently promoted. He was sent out to perform tasks before he had a chance to read some authority information. 30 years to the east of Hedong, 30 years to the west of Hexi. Aries, just wait for me. Pisces said harsh words in his heart. Suddenly, he looked up at the sky. Did you hear any strange noises? Aries also looked up to the sky after hearing this. There is a strange noise. In the distant sky, a red light pillar broke through the atmosphere, dragging a long white tail flame and falling towards the Black Mountain. Pisces, what is that? Aries mused. It looks familiar. The two dogs looked at each other suddenly. Missile. Sister Ma Yan. With the floodgates fully open. Qinzi saw the whole picture of the person outside the door. A tight black leather jacket. Purple shawl, long hair. Light smoky makeup. Qinzi thought of Morgana for a moment. It is different from Ma Yan in reality. Ma Yan in front of him exudes strangeness and evil charm all over his body. Hear the other party call his name. Ma Yan, who had just entered the door, couldn't help being stunned. Little devil, do you know me? Qinzi, you don't know me. Ma Yan snorted softly. This queen needs to know an ant. Qinzi took off his mask. I am Qinzi. Ma Yan frowned slightly. It looks familiar. My sister Qin Yu. Ma Yan's brows stretched instantly, showing a surprised expression. You're not dead yet. The fat man interjected. He's not from our world. Ma Yan suddenly realized. You also came out of the space door of No. 10 refuge. Interesting. I tried that door and couldn't get through, so how did you get in? Qinzi rolled his eyes. Nonsense. If you can pass, the timeline will not be messed up. Stop talking nonsense, get out of the console obediently. The fat man has no patience. It's strange that the two of you can join forces. Ma Yan said coldly. An enemy's enemy is a friend. Since our goal is to clean up the rats in the subway, why can't we join forces temporarily? Qinzi looked at Ma Yan with a complicated expression. In his memory, Ma Yan was a kind and stubborn person. Even the magic cards of law enforcement cannot take effect on her. It was difficult for him to coincide the person in front of him with Ma Yan in his memory. Sister Ma Yan, what was life like before? Are there warm kittens and puppies? Have you met someone you love? Did your wish come true? And now, are you really living the way you want? Ma Yan's face darkened visibly to the naked eye. Enough. You have no idea what I've been through. My mother's legs were broken by the martial artist, and she was buried in a sea of flames. The research institute concealed the side effects of the anti-alpha reagent and tricked me into trying it. I was sold to Fanglo again and lived a life that was worse than death every day. Warmth. Where is the warmth? As he said that, a tyrannical aura swept across Ma Yan's body. Qinzi felt like a drowning person, unable to breathe. Humans are a despicable race that shouldn't exist. The glorious evolution that this king has brought to you now. Not only are you ungrateful to Dade, but you are also trying to resist. Wasted everything. Qinzi twitched the corner of his mouth. Okay, Ma Yan's plan is more thorough than Fatty's. Directly destroy human beings. No wonder aliens are the pollution of this world. As of now, there is nothing left to say. The fat man flashed away from Ma Yan instantly. He felt that the woman's current mood was extremely unstable. Going crazy right now. Boom. There was a loud bang outside the door. A somewhat embarrassed Nangong appeared. Lin Ziyuan, you lackey of the alienated queen. Nangong Xingye burst into murderous intent. Lin Ziyuan smiled. Nangong, haven't we seen each other for many years? The lifespan of a high-level warrior is long, even if you have been the same in the past few decades. Nangong Xingye's face was stern. Lin Ziyuan, the missile is now in our hands. If you don't want Sky Island to fall, you should hand over all the command of the humanoid combat weapons. The fat man smiled. When did you control it? That one is my good friend. Nangong Xingye turned his head to look at Qinzi, furious. Okay, it turns out that you are in the same group. Qinzi was speechless. You can get shot while lying down. Misunderstood. I really don't belong with him. Nangong Xingye was like a raging lion at this time, no one believed it. How to prove? Qin Zi shrugged his shoulders. Under the watchful eyes of Nangong, Fatty and the Queen, Qin Zi turned around suddenly and slapped the red launch button with a slap. The three of them turned pale with shock. Stop. How dare you? It was too late, however, and the launch alarm had already sounded. The launch silo has been opened. Ground personnel, please evacuate immediately. Launch countdown, 10, 9. As the countdown ended, a several-meter-long missile shot up from the silo. A dozen aliens near the mouth of the well were instantly vaporized by the exhaust flame of the engine. In just a few seconds, the missile disappeared into the sky. Only the white trail cloud in the sky proves that it has been here. Successful launch. Target: Black Mountain Research Institute. Estimated to arrive in half a minute. Qin Zi smiled slightly at Nangong. Look, I'm on your side. Nangong is now a dumb man who eats cactus, and cannot tell what he is suffering. He originally wanted to keep the nuclear bomb as a bargaining chip with Lin Ziyuan. But now everything is gone. Okay. Nangong Xingye didn't know what to say. Just nodded with trembling body. Seeing the nuclear bomb heading towards her base camp, the enraged queen rushed towards Qin Zi instantly. Qin Zi, old dang, stop him quickly. Nangong Xingye roared loudly, and the aura on his body began to rise steadily, and soon approached the 8th level warrior. Things have come to this, we can only solve the alienated queen first. Boom. Nangong and the queen punched each other, and each took a few steps back. The fat man said lightly, tisk tisk tisk, they are starting to burn their lifespan. Nangong, I specially prepared a big gift for you today. After the words fell, the BT beside the fat man released the optical invisibility and appeared. The moment Nangong Xingye saw BT, his eyes turned red and his voice trembled. Qianru. ... There are too many strange beasts, they can't be killed at all. The head of the Maka tribe cursed. He and Yao Yuan had already killed halfway up the mountain. The number of alienables has not decreased in the slightest. Instead, it flows like a tide. The head of the Maka tribe felt the blood in his body draining rapidly. Then continued to kill like this. Leaving aside whether he could complete the hunting mission in the end, the team leader felt that he would most likely go to see the late emperor of the Maka clan. Yao Yuan on the side was very calm in comparison. Nearly 100 long swords fluttered up and down around him. But any alienated person who approached was instantly strangled into a ball of minced meat. Automatically hang up to fight monsters, Yao Yuan hardly needs to do anything. We don't know the pre-mission, the key only points to the final source of pollution. Yao Yuan's implication may be tricky. It's a pity we don't know. Did you hear anything? The movement of the head of the Maka tribe suddenly froze. Senior warriors have very keen perception. They looked up at the same time and saw the pillar of fire falling from the sky. The Maka tribe turned pale and muttered to themselves. I seem to know what a trick is. In an instant, the pillar of fire smashed heavily on the top of the mountain. Boom. Accompanied by a 100-meter-high mushroom cloud rising from the ground, the shock wave swept down the mountain with devastating energy. The research institute located in the mountain was hit by the bullseye, and countless alienated people were reduced to ashes. In an instant, the world nuclear level. After the nuclear leveling, Montenegro was 10 meters shorter. A large hole was hollowed out in the center. The Black Mountain Research Institute located inside was completely reduced to ruins. Due to being in the center of the nuclear explosion, countless alienated people did not even leave a complete body. Ripples rippled in the space halfway up the mountain. Yao Yuan and the head of the Maka tribe slowly emerged. The head of the Maka tribe gritted his teeth. The hunting is over. Grass. Don't let me know who did it. This trick is really too clever. As soon as a nuclear bomb fell, he almost turned to ashes and ashes with the alienated people. Yao Yuan looked up at the direction where the nuclear bomb hit just now. There is also a secondary hunting target. Go and have a look. The leader of the Maka tribe said coldly, I want to see which stupid bird hunter did it. Didn't you see the announcement made by the Maka clan? This hunting and killing realm belongs to our Maka tribe. Yao Yuan frowned slightly. He resisted this kind of cooperation from the bottom of his heart. But the weakness of the human race made him powerless. This time the hunting mission was robbed. Yao Yuan was actually a little happy in his heart. After all, the source of the world failed to fall into the hands of the Maka tribe. The two rose from the sky and ran quickly towards the military base. Not far away, Aries and Gemini also lifted the protection of the source of the world. Why didn't the nuclear bomb kill them? Aries expressed deep regret for this. They're gone, do you still want to chase them? Pisces is a little impatient. Aries' eyes flickered. Of course we have to chase after him. Today my brother will take you to make a great contribution. Yao Yuan and the leader of the foreign race had just gone through a battle, and their energy, blood and mental power were exhausted. If you don't make a move at this time, when will you wait? Pisces rolled his eyes. Make a great contribution. Don't be killed by Yao Yuan's sword. Pollution source has been removed. The main hunting mission has ended. Secondary hunting target has been marked. Hunting countdown 23 hours 59 minutes and 59 seconds. Half a minute after the nuclear bomb was launched, a new reminder of the key appeared in Qin Zi's mind. New hunting target. Qin Zi looked up at the queen. Can't help but be taken aback. Good guy, already famous. Our new hunt's serious. The queen is at least the strength of a 7th level warrior. I am a rookie who has just broken through the 1st level. Head hunting. Qianru, don't you remember me? On the other side, Nangong Xingyi's eyes were moist. This 1.8-meter rough guy showed a rare gentleness. BT's voice is as calm as ever. My name is BT-21, the last humanoid combat weapon of the BT series. You were wrong. Nangong Xingye clenched his fists. Your name is Nangong Qianru, my daughter of Nangong Xingye. Strips of data flashed quickly in BT's eyes. Sorry, you made a mistake. And the name Nangong Qianru is not in the search directory. Lin Ziyuan smiled. Nangong, open your dog eyes to see clearly. She is a humanoid combat weapon BT-21. Nangong Xingye couldn't bear it anymore. Die to me. Nangong burst out with energy and blood, and his whole body was as fast as lightning, and his fiery fist even made a deafening sonic boom in the air. However, the fat man disappeared instantly, and appeared a few meters away, looking at him with a smile. Just when Nangong was about to attack again, BT stopped in front of him with full firepower. Nangong Xingye couldn't bear to attack his daughter, so he had to keep blocking and retreating. Qianru, I'm dad, but BT can't listen to anything. She just follows the procedure. The commander is threatened with his life, so she must eliminate the threat immediately. Little ghost, there is no one to help you now. A cruel smile appeared on the queen's lips. Qin Zi sent a nuclear bomb to the Black Mountain Research Institute into the sky. Her decades of hard work came to naught. You can't hide the look in your eyes that wants to kill someone. Qin Zi was anxious. Old dang, look at me. Unfortunately, Nangong Xingye couldn't see it. Can't see it at all. He only has his own daughter in his eyes now. Qin Zi calculated the number of clones left. Enough to buy time to run. Just as Qin Zi was about to condense all the attributes of his body into action, a sigh of emotion came from the door. It's really lively. Qin Zi followed the sound and saw Yao Yuan and the head of the Maka clan appearing at the door. At this moment, Qin Zi seemed to see his relatives. Zilla. Qin Zi was surrounded by lightning and rushed to the vicinity of Yao Yuan in an instant. Brother, you are finally here. I have completed the task you entrusted to me, and you will settle the rest. Yao Yuan was at a loss, not knowing what Qin Zi was talking about. At first, when he arrived at the base, he was surprised to see the clones wearing animal masks. He thought about many situations along the way, but never expected that the new hunter would be a circus. Are you the captain? Yao Yuan looked at Qin Zi, who was wearing a black and white mask. It turned out to be only a first-level warrior. Qin Zi, brother, now is not the time to reminisce about the past, hurry up and fight monsters. The queen ran away completely. No matter who you are, don't think of leaving today. Yao Yuan looked at the queen. A little familiar. It seems to have seen it somewhere. The head of the Maka tribe started to burn again. She is the secondary hunting target. Hurry up. Without further ado, the head of the Maka clan rushed forward first. Then he was slapped by the queen and flew more than 10 meters away. Yao Yuan drew his sword. A sword chi slashed against the queen's shoulder, and the glass curtain wall behind the console was split into two. Fatty man, help me quickly. The queen was terrified. From Yao Yuan, she felt an unprecedented danger. The fat man sighed. He teleported to Yao Yuan's side, and the particle pistol in his hand kept firing. Yao Yuan seemed to have expected it, dodged the particle pulse, raised his hand and slashed at the wheelchair. Fatty teleported again. Yao Yuan raised his eyebrows. Interesting ability. Qin Zi left the battlefield quietly. When gods fight, mortals suffer. They are all high-level fighters, and it is no longer something that a rookie like him can intervene. Yao Yuan was besieged from left and right for a while. The queen attacked head-on. The fat man kept teleporting and harassing. Yao Yuan gradually fell into a disadvantage. Qin Zi was really afraid that Yao Yuan would be hacked to death. Then the next one is him. Old dang, leave your daughter alone. Take care of the queen first. Nangong Xingye can tell which is more important. Gritting his teeth, he turned to assist Yao Yuan. BT was about to pursue, but was blocked by Qin Zi and Brother Swallowing. Qin Zi, BT, you are a human being, not a weapon. Hurry up and recall the bond between us. Brother Swallow had a black question mark on his face. Is this useful? Qin Zi, you underestimated the power of bonds. Boom. BT didn't listen to Qin Zi's pressure at all, and quickly hit the door with a punch. Fortunately, Brother Swallow reacted quickly, dragged Qin Zi behind him, and caught the punch with his own face. Boom. Brother Swallow's head exploded into a cloud of blood. BT took advantage of the victory and pursued, grabbing Qin Zi's chest with his backhand. At this moment, a blue thunder rushed into the control room. Ha ha ha, the main character is here, get out of the way. The moment Dharma King, who was full of thunder, hit the ground, dense electric currents flew around like snakes. One of them happened to hit BT's forehead, and then a sound like a short circuit sounded in her head, accompanied by a plume of white smoke. The movements of BT's hands were stiff, and there was a touch of humanity in his eyes. What am I doing? BT lowered his hands, his face full of bewilderment. Large fragments of fragmentary memories suddenly flooded into my mind. Both familiar and strange. For a while, BT couldn't help but have a philosophical trifecta. Who I am. Where am I? What am I doing? She couldn't help holding her head in pain and squatting in defense. A large number of memory fragments are still flashing back in my mind. You are Nangong Qianru, the only martial arts successor of this generation of Nangong family. No matter when and where, you can't slack off. Under the huge sycamore tree, the man with a serious face taught a little girl about 10 years old. The little girl was wearing a white martial arts uniform, with a meticulous expression, and kept swinging the sword. 997, 998, 999, 1000. The girl sat on the ground profusely with sweat. The bangs became sticky to the forehead in strands. The man looks at the time on his watch. 1 second early. Take a break for 2 minutes and swing the sword 1,000 times. This year's Xuanyang City's martial arts examination champion is Nangong Qianru. She is already a first-class martial artist at the age of 18. She deserves it. The little girl back then has grown into a slim young girl. Standing on the podium, she felt the tsunami-like cheers and applause from the audience. But she doesn't seem happy. She always felt that something was missing in her life for the past 18 years. Congratulations to Nangong Qianru for being an outstanding graduate of Heidu University this year. I hope you will continue to work hard after returning to your hometown. The girl who returned to her hometown was welcomed by her parents and folks. The city lord's mansion held a large banquet to celebrate the girl's entry into office. That night, she drank for the first time. On the wall of Xuanyang City. The young girl's green shirt was stained with blood, and she stood holding her sword. In front of the city wall was covered with countless dead beasts. The warriors who had just experienced a fierce battle were leaning together to take a nap. The girl frowned. She couldn't remember how many times this month the tides of the abyss were happening. Can Xuanyang City really survive? My lord, there are a group of alienated people in the city, please help the law enforcement. A soldier hurried to report. No. The girl clenched her long sword tightly and walked down the city wall. Hurry up and get on the plane, this is the last flight. The girl walked into the spaceship with the middle-aged man. Outside the fence of the launch site, countless ordinary people are protesting loudly. What are they going to do? The girl's eyes were full of confusion. Obviously, the alien beast has been defeated. Why is this the result? The man dismissed it. Of course I will stay here, there is no place for them in Sky Island. The spaceship launches into space. The girl saw a fence collapsed, and countless people poured in. However, what greeted them was the bullets spewing frantically from the machine guns on the sentry tower. Chianru, Dad, please. You have passed the physical examination, then join the weapon plan. In the study, the middle-aged man tried his best to persuade him. The girl bit her lips tightly, but I don't want to become a reformer. The middle-aged man retorted, how can it be to transform people? This is your chance to become stronger, and it is also the hope of reviving mankind. If you join the weapon plan, I can also enter the Sky Island Council, and our Nangong family will return to its peak. The girl opened her eyes. Lie yourself in a large jar filled with a clear liquid. There are all kinds of tubes stuck in his body. It hurts. Who I am? Why can't I remember anything? Suddenly, a fat man walked up to the cultivation tank, his face full of excitement. Very good. The transformation of the first batch of humanoid combat weapons was very successful. From today, your number is BT-21. BT-21. Is this my name? What a strange name. This is the last strange beast, the abyss is already closing. The surrounding Valkyries were cheering loudly. The girl looked down at the huge body of the alien beast under her feet. She picked it lightly with her sword, and a beautiful blue soul orb landed in her hand. A rare smile appeared on the girl's mouth. So lovely. An unknown number of alienated people have appeared in Area A1, go and exterminate them immediately. Receive. Fight, fight, fight. There is only constant fighting left. There are too many aliens. It seems that no matter how you kill it, you can't finish it. Where do they come from? The girl thought about this question more than once. Humanoid combat weapon, codenamed BT-21. I am the last of the first batch of BT series weapons. The boy in front of him seemed taken aback by his actions. Interesting. Haven't seen a human for many years. I really look like them. We have a custom where after a person dies, he offers 3 sticks of incense to show respect and wish him good luck in the next life. There is no incense here, so I will use cigarettes instead of incense. The girl was very curious about the mysterious ceremony in front of her. She was a little envious of those dead companions for a while. She also wants to be remembered. The girl folded her hands together following his example. For the first time she made a wish. If there is an afterlife, she wants to be an ordinary girl with everyone else. Go away, my lord, don't worry about me. The girl felt that her energy was being drained rapidly. Fortunately, the gate was closed and he was safe. So tired. I really want to rest. It shouldn't be a problem to just sleep for a while, right? Wish he could remember to perform that mystic ritual for himself too. Boom. The girl was blown away by the high-level alienator like a sandbag. This time, she never got up again. It's finally fixed. Although the memory module is still a little weak, it's harmless. Remember, your number is BT-21, and you can only follow my orders from now on. I am the Commander-in-Chief of the Sky Island Command, Order Code A1B4. The girl looked at the fat man in front of her, and nodded ignorantly. Your name is Nangong Chianru, the daughter of my Nangong Xingye. The man growled hoarsely. My name is Nangong Chianru. But am I not a humanoid combat weapon BT-21? Whose memories are those just now? My head hurts. Who am I? The Fawong looked at BT who was squatting on the ground, and whispered, what's wrong with her? Is her brain short-circuited? I can say 4 things to the lamp. I definitely didn't mean it just now. You also know that the protagonist must have a cool and explosive debut. I don't know if it's cool or not, but it's pretty explosive anyway. The headless brother Swallow staggered to his feet. Fa Wang's eyes widened. I'll go, I didn't die after my head exploded. Isn't it too buggy? It's not too late to make a big cut. With a puff, a head popped out of Brother Swallow's neck again. Then he took out a handkerchief and wiped the unknown mucus on his head. You know, a hook. Brother Swallowing snorted coldly. My father's body is not as fragile as yours. Chin-Zi ignored the stinky farts of King Dharma and Brother Swallowing. He is very worried about BT's current state. BT, are you okay? A dignified humanoid combat weapon, the head will not be short-circuited by an electric shock, right? BT raised his head slowly, his voice firm. I am, Nangong Qianru. Do you remember what happened before? Chin-Zi blinked. Fatty's restoration work is really a shoddy project. The Dharma King's lightning short-circuited the situation. Nangong Qianru slowly stood up. He looked at Nangong Xingye, who was fighting fiercely. The eyes are complicated. The fat man noticed Nangong Qianru's strange behavior and immediately issued an order. BT-21, take him down immediately. Command Code X-01. Nangong Qianru pulled out her long sword and struck the fat man with her backhand. The fat man flashed out in time and saved his life. It was still a big tailwind a second ago. The fight suddenly turned into a headwind situation. The fat man immediately turned around and prepared to run away. Where to escape? As soon as the fat man flashed to the door, he ran into the leader of the Macaw tribe, who was covered in fire. The leader of the Macaw tribe is now holding back his anger. He didn't care who was famous, he just wanted to kill them. Before the fat man could react, a flaming fist the size of a casserole hit him in the face. After all, he is just a person with natural abilities and has not specialized in martial arts. How can a fragile body of 70 or 80 years old withstand the fist of a 7th-level warrior? The fat man was spread out on the wall. You don't respect martial ethics and sneak attack on me, an 80-year-old comrade. The leader of the Macaw tribe didn't care, he stepped forward and prepared to do another cruel trick. The fat man gritted his teeth and hurriedly appeared. Because the punch just now was too strong, the flash distance was not as far as before. So, the leader of the Macaw tribe began to catch the mouse. On the other side, the queen was retreating steadily under the attack of Yao Yuan and Nangong Xingye. Nangong Xingye was extremely shocked by the strength displayed by Yao Yuan. This young man is simply ridiculously strong. Moreover, he always felt that he had seen that superb swordsmanship somewhere before. Kaiyan, taking advantage of the queen being suppressed, Yao Yuan immediately opened up. The long sword screamed and sword energy flew. A rare look of horror appeared on the queen's face. She had a premonition. If she took this sword forcefully, she would die. However, the surrounding space has been blocked by sword energy. Out on a limb, the queen growled, "Don't think that you want to win against me. 50 years. You have no idea how much I have endured in these 50 years." Boom! All the energy and blood in the queen's body burst out instantly. The rich qi and blood have even completely become substantial. It condensed into a bloody shield in front of her. Yao Yuan finished gathering momentum. A sword energy penetrated the roof of the control room. The thick wall was like a piece of tofu, easily cut open by the sword energy. The sword energy moves forward inexorably. There was an explosion of boom, and it hit the bloody shield firmly. The queen continuously outputs qi and blood to maintain the shield. However, everything he did was in vain in front of Yao Yuan, who was known as the human sword immortal. Kakaka. The surface of the shield was quickly covered with dense cracks. Eventually, half of the queen's body was cut open along with her shield. Chin-Zi, Brother Devouring and King Fa witnessed the sword not far away. The mood can only be described by the word, holding the grass. Today Yao Yuan once again refreshed their understanding of martial arts. People can really be so strong. Cough, cough, cough. The queen, who had lost half her body, leaned against the wall and coughed up blood. She lost. Such a complete defeat. Looking back on the first half of my life, it was really a complete tragedy. Ending early seems like a good idea. But she was still unwilling. She failed to witness the day when the human race was completely wiped out. Ha 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 ha. The queen suddenly laughed. Despicable human race, I curse you forever. Yao Yuan put away his long sword, looked at the queen, and said calmly, I remember who you are. The queen was taken aback. She was very sure that the two of them met for the first time today. Yao Yuan said to himself, I more or less guessed what you went through. The world is not perfect, it is broken everywhere, but someone will always mend it. A poignant smile appeared on the corner of the queen's mouth. Sewing. If someone sewed, would the world become what it is today? Will I be reduced to this? Yao Yuan shook his head. I'm talking about another world. Although it is not equal, there are still some people who are working tirelessly and even giving their lives for the survival of the human race. In that world, although your life is not so satisfactory, you can still see the light in the dark night. The queen snorted softly. Sure enough, every human being is good at weaving beautiful fairy tales of lies. Equality. Only in the grave is everyone equal. The queen stopped listening to Yao Yuan and continued to speak. It seemed that her face was turning rosy as the light came back. At a certain moment, the appearance of the queen suddenly overlapped with that of Ma Yan in Qin Zi's heart. Yao Yuan said to Qin Zi, "You make up the last knife." Qin Zi was stunned. Me. The head of the Maka clan was angry. Yao Yuan, what are you doing? Seeing the furious head of the Maka tribe, Qin Zi understood Yao Yuan's meaning. But when he came to Yao Yuan's side, it was really difficult to make a move. Yao Yuan said in a deep voice, "She is not her in that world, everything here is just the evolution of the will of the world." Qin Zi sighed. "Sister Ma Yan, I've reported it." The queen smiled miserably. This world should be destroyed. A drop of bloody tear slowly slipped from the corner of her eye. No, he's going to blow himself up. The head of the Maka tribe was the first to react, and raised his hand to grab the fat man as his own human shield. Boom! The shock wave formed by qi and blood surged out mixed with the power of destroying the world. Yao Yuan stuck the sword under his feet, and the sword energy condensed into a barrier to block the explosion. After a while, the smoke cleared. The control room no longer exists, not even the ruins remain. The self-destruction power of senior fighters can be seen. The fat man who had been used as a human shield by the leader had only a bloody skeleton left, and the leader discarded it casually. "No, brother devourer, how can I live without you?" The king of France hugged the meatball, which was half the size of a football, crying and howling. The meatball kept beating and undulating, like a heart. The moment the queen blew herself up, the devouring brother Faxiong Tiandi protected the Fawang behind her. Because of this, the king of Dharma did not become a piece of meat. Thanks to the blessing of King Fa, Brother Swallow became like this. "Don't push me, Dad is not dead yet." A weak voice came from the meatball. Fa Wang was stunned and rolled his eyes. "Waste my feelings. It's not dead, isn't the strength too high?" Saying so, the Fawang carefully hugged the meatball to his chest to protect it. "You." Nangong Qianru looked at Nangong Xingye who was protecting herself under her body. Her thoughts were complicated. Although the memory of the past was completely restored, she still didn't know how to face Nangong Xingye. "Are you okay?" Nangong Xingye got up slowly and slumped on the ground weakly. His back was bloody, exposing thick bones and internal organs. "Qianru, there is a sentence that has been held in my heart for decades. Sorry, the secondary hunting target is dead. World hunting mission completed. 100 units of world source have been distributed, not activated. The current world is about to close 0 hours 59 minutes and 59 seconds. World repair begins 47 hours 59 minutes and 59 seconds. The key reminder sounded in Qin Zi's mind. The source of the world. What is it used for? Looks very classy. It's just gray. It doesn't seem to be useful at the moment. The world shuts down in an hour. Qin Zi found that he could leave the foreign land with all his clones with just one thought. It's just that the so-called hunting mission doesn't seem to be completely completed, and there is still a follow-up mission. That is the world correction of the 48-hour countdown. Look at the mess left behind by the Queen's self-destruction. How to correct it? Qin Zi already has the answer in his heart. Contact me after you leave the foreign land. Yao Yuan's voice rang in Qin Zi's ears, and he stuffed a small card into his pocket. Grass. A waste of time. The leader of the Macaw tribe walked towards Qin Zi cursing. Didn't you see the world announcement of our Macaw clan? Hurry up and hand over the source of the world. The clothes on the leader of the Macaw tribe were blown into strips and hung on his body, making him even more embarrassed than a beggar. Qin Zi was a little flustered. The leader of the Macaw tribe can hit 100 of himself with one hand. Yao Yuan suddenly stood up at this time. In front of me, Plunder the world source of our world's predators. Do you think I'm blind? Hearing this, the leader of the Maka tribe turned gloomy. What do you mean? Are you going to disobey the orders of your higher-ups in the human race? Yao Yuan said calmly. When did I disobey an order? On the contrary, I was following orders. The leader of the Maka tribe said solemnly. Then quickly give me the source of the world in this little fool. Yao Yuan seemed to be smiling but not smiling. I think you seem to have misunderstood something. The content of our cooperation this time is that both parties will get 8 of the source of the world from your Maka tribe and 2 from our human tribe. But the world hunting mission was not completed by us, so naturally we cannot share the source of the world. The face of the leader of the Maka clan was terrifyingly gloomy. He saw it. The fat water does not flow to outsiders' fields. Yao Yuan wanted to protect the new hunter in front of him with his life. Protecting the hunters of this world from foreign hunters is also an order from our top human race. If you insist on plundering the source of the world from him, I will stay with you until the end. Yao Yuan pulled out the long sword stuck on the ground, his eyes sharp. The leader of the Maka tribe gritted his teeth. The duck flew away as soon as he saw it. He was really unwilling, but he didn't dare to face the sword in Yao Yuan's hand alone. Remember what you just said. I will report it to you verbatim. Just wait for the sanctions from our Maka clan. The leader made some harsh words. The body then began to fade little by little. It quickly disappeared. He left the foreign land. Ahem, this regiment leader has recorded this favor today. Qin Zi, who had been hiding behind Yao Yuan before, came out. Compared with the calm appearance on the surface, Qin Zi's true thoughts in his heart are actually, my distance is amazing. After all, he is also the leader of the group. He leads a group of beasts on his hands. In order to maintain the strong character of the group leader, Qin Zi resisted the urge to bow down. Yao Yuan did not respond, just turned and looked at the sky on the other side. Qin Zi did not forget the soul beads of Kongdao. Fatty had been watching closely before. Qin Zi never went to the place where the soul beads were exhibited. The world will close for an hour, enough time to go to Sky Island. Nangong Xingye is dead. Logically speaking, the bodies of high-level warriors are not so fragile. It's just that Nangong Xingye is older. In addition, the subway resources are limited. There is simply too little of what is needed for daily practice. This makes Nangong Xingye's body much more fragile than ordinary high-level warriors. Nangong Qianru was looking at Nangong Xingye's body blankly. Poker face. At the critical moment, Nangong Xingye fulfilled the responsibilities of a father. Maybe out of decades of guilt. Perhaps it was the long years on the subway that made him miss his family ties again. His last words of, "I'm sorry," finally made Nangong Qianru let go of everything in the past. Well enough. Qin Zi approached. Nangong Qianru stood up slowly and tilted her head. Thanks. Over the years, Qin Zi was the first to treat her as a human being. In the past few decades, Nangong Qianru has always been just a tool. As a child, she was the instrument of her family's rise. Growing up, she was a tool in her father's power struggle. Becoming a humanoid combat weapon, she is a tool for hunting alien beasts and alienated people. Very tired. From today on, she can finally live for herself. Qin Zi, what are your future plans? Nangong Qianru looked at the warriors who were still alive outside the base, thoughtfully. I want to rebuild the world. Qin Zi nodded. Good idea. It is indeed easier to restore order atop ruins. I have some bad news about the soul beads you mentioned last time. Nangong Qianru said suddenly. Qin Zi had an ominous premonition. There is indeed a batch of soul beads in the museum on Kongdao. However, due to the fault in martial arts, the soul orb was completely purified for safety. There is no other use for it than for exhibition. Qin Zi felt like he was turning grayish-white little by little. No, my soul pearl. Nangong Qianru seemed to hear the sound of heartbreak. For a long time, Qin Zi grinned with a smile that was uglier than crying. The soul beads are just foreign objects. A truly strong person will not rely on external things. If Qin Zi hadn't burst into tears, Nangong Qianru would have believed it. You're leaving, right? Qin Zi nodded. The queen herself tested it. Creatures in this world cannot leave the alien gate. Otherwise, Qin Zi would have wanted to take her out. There is also a Nangong Qianru in the real world. According to the timeline, the other party is still attending Wuhan University. Qin Zi is quite curious. What would it be like if Nangong Qianru from the two timelines met? Nangong Qianru felt a little disappointed. There is also some regret. If you see her, say something for me. What? A bright smile suddenly appeared on Nangong Qianru's lips. Put your skirt back on and don't regret your girlhood. Qin Zi was stunned. Okay. Jia 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 Jia. Suddenly there was a strange laughter in the distant sky. Aries and Pisces show up. Yao Yuan has been staring there for a long time. I just felt like there was a rat following me. It turned out to be you. Aries said proudly. You just went through a big battle, and you don't have much energy and blood left, right? Hurry up and hand over the keys. I can save you from death. Yao Yuan said calmly. It is true that there is no energy and blood. I'm just waiting to confirm who it is. Yao Yuan's body began to fade away little by little. The door closes in less than an hour. You can't teleport without the key. You'd better hurry up and get to the door. As soon as he finished speaking, Yao Yuan disappeared. Aries and Pisces are left with big eyes and small eyes. Qin Zi looked at Nangong Qianru. I should go too. Nangong Qianru nodded. Have a nice journey. Qin Zi opened the teleportation through the key. The avatar and the avatar's corpse were sent out of the foreign land together. Aries not far away was confused. Quote question mark question mark question mark quote. I was all ready, why did everyone run away? Coward, want to fight with me? Pisces gloats. A day trip to a different place. Did nothing. He was already expecting the lion to be furious. The door to the alien world is about to close. If you don't leave, you have to stay here. Pisces quickly flew to vault number 10. Aries is left alone and messy in the wind. Wait for me. After reacting, Aries followed in a daze. Finished. The great work is gone. Nangong Xingye is dead. The faces of those subway fighters who survived were full of bewilderment. Nangong Qianru walked to the ruins. The queen is dead. All the alienated ones have also disappeared. The ultimate victory belongs to mankind. Base. Nangong Qianru drew out her long sword. The sword points to the sky. Together, we will restore order to the ruins. It's a long process. It may even take generations of effort. But the flowers will bloom and the stars will shine. We will embark on a bright road, and even the half-infected who have suffered a lot will get out of their tragic fate. Let us burn the night together and welcome the dawn. The clouds in the sky opened a hole. The sun shines on Nangong Qianru's sword edge. The refracted golden light reflected on everyone's face. In that flickering light they saw something. It's called hope. Qin Zi and the clones teleported back to the circus headquarters. Just experienced a fantastic adventure. Every clone is extremely excited. It's great, it's great. I got the first kill. Those subway fighters are so good, they can't beat me for their heads. Has that world completely disappeared? It should continue to evolve. It's a bit like playing a game, we are the fourth natural disaster. By the way, do you want to choose an MVP? All the clones looked at the meatball on the table. The king of Dharma stood up. I declare that Brother Devourer is the MVP of this game. Who is in favor and who is against? Brother Swallow's contribution is obvious to all. The clones could only whisper. Brother Devouring's strength is too high, how can you play without slicing others? That's right, the panel data is so powerful that there is no need to operate it at all. Quote. Without Brother Devourer, Qin Zi would be the first to play GG. Once the main body is sent, all the clones will be sent together. In addition, Brother Swallowing saved the life of the Dharma King at the critical moment. After discussion, everyone unanimously decided to give this first MVP to Brother Swallow. Brother Devourer snorted coldly. You still have some conscience. In the foreign realm, Brother Devouring and Dharma King are not included. Qin Zi also released 99 clones. In the melee with the aliens, more than 1/3 of the clones were killed or injured. Whether it's corpses or wounded, all are teleported back now. The living clones began to carry the bodies. The headquarters recently purchased a new crematorium. Today happens to be my first time working. Those clones that were missing arms and legs and were seriously injured and difficult to treat were all replaced. Throw them to the cremator and line up together. After today, A batch of Qinzi's names will be added to the Qinzi monument. In front of the crematorium, 2 clones were constantly throwing corpses into it. What do you think it feels like to be cremated? One of the clones stared directly at the roaring fire in the stove. A strong curiosity was aroused in my heart. The other clone threw the body into the stove and closed the door. Just give it a try if you're curious. But you have to be last. Leave so many corpses to me alone, I will be too busy. Brother Curious nodded. The last one is the last one. I will do it myself when the time comes. Don't interfere. Qinzi is still researching the newly arrived source of the world. There are no instructions or notes. So what the hell is the source of the world? It can be seen from the reaction of the leader of the Maka tribe. The source of the world is important. Again, I don't have to know what the source of the world does, but I can't live without it. Qinzi suppressed his curiosity and turned to look at the beating meatballs on the table. Are you always going to be this stupid from now on? Brother Devour yawned, currently out of energy. After a while, the swallowing ability is restored. You can speed up the recovery by continuing to swallow. Qinzi raised his eyebrows. If you hadn't told me earlier, I would have left the body for you. Brother Yan said coldly. I want to eat fresh and good food with vitality and blood. You think I'm a trash can? You can give me whatever crooked melons and cracked dates you want. Qinzi shook his head. It's not a good habit to be picky about food. Brother Devour groaned a few times. Too lazy to pay attention to him. Hold the grass. Watch TV. The clone staying at the entrance to the foreign land suddenly sent back a message. Qinzi leaned on the sofa, found the remote control and turned on the TV. Zhongcheng TV station is broadcasting live. The square was in chaos. The crowd is running around now. You can also see explosions ringing in the distance. The female reporter looked like an old war reporter. Under such circumstances, he can still broadcast without changing his expression. According to the latest news our station just received, 2 high-level officials from the Fair Association appeared at the scene, and Zhongcheng law enforcement is doing its best to pursue them. Everyone can see that there is still a fierce battle going on in the distance. Through live footage, Qinzi saw that the colorful glow falling to the ground was disappearing little by little. The countdown is over. The alien world is closing. Qinzi said silently in his heart, BT, I hope you can successfully reshape the new world. The female reporter also noticed the disappearing glow at this time. Couldn't help but exclaim loudly. Everyone, look. The entrance to the foreign land has changed. The halo is dissipating, and the alien world seems to be closing. A few seconds later, as the last ray of light disappeared from the sky, the connection between the 2 worlds was completely severed. Survival and development are inherently a luxury, but people who live in this luxury are unaware of it. Qinzi doesn't know how that world will evolve under the leadership of Nangong Qianru. But humanity's existential crisis has been lifted. Development must be the next theme. Qinzi only hopes that people in that world can cherish this hard-won opportunity and not make the same mistakes again. There are dozens of missed calls from Qinyu on the phone. I stayed in a foreign land for a day and a night. This stupid woman won't starve to death at home, right? Qinzi told brother swallowing some things and returned home. Passing by a phone booth on the street, Qinzi thought about it and walked in. He took out the small card Yao Yuan gave him, and there was only a phone number on it. After thinking for a moment, Qinzi still called. Soon, Yao Yuan's slightly tired voice sounded over there. Which one? At a dimly lit round table. Pisces and Aries sit face to face. Compared with Aries, who has a motherly face, Pisces' mood is relaxed and happy. He even couldn't help but whistle. It's so noisy. Aries said angrily. Pisces smiled slightly. I'm not the one making the noise. But your mind is confused. Aries, you're obsessed. Pisces is happier than picking up money when seeing Aries suffer. Since his last mission failed, Aries has always been sarcastic in front of him. Now things are going well, things are changing. Pisces has finally waited for this day. Don't worry, you've done a great job. Even if the mission fails, the lion won't say anything. After all, you are a veteran, not a newcomer like me. Pisces crossed his legs, very proud. Aries gnashed his teeth. Just as he was about to speak, a huge pressure suddenly came. Aries, I'm very disappointed in you. In the chief position, the shadow of a lion appeared. The lion's voice was low, with a hint of anger. Aries said quickly, listen to my cunning explanation, I can explain it. Boom. Enough. The lion slammed the table. Do you know how precious the source of the world is? I paid a huge price for this source of the world. But what did you use it for? One day trip to a different place. Thank you for being able to do it. Upon seeing this, Pisces immediately began to fan the flames of anger. It's not just a day trip either. Aries also took me to observe Yao Yuan's swordsmanship several times up close. I benefited a lot. Aries gave Pisces a hard look. Are you just adding insult to injury? The lion continued. That foreign land has been confirmed to be the world hunting world. Do you know how much damage you have caused to Hilly? If we can capture the source of this alien world, we can immediately start the next step of deployment. Aries didn't dare to refute directly, so he could only beep quietly. We don't have the key. You won't get any hints about the hunting mission when you enter a foreign land. I don't want to run around like a headless fly either. There's no way around it, isn't it? A shadow of a lion with 9 heads slowly condensed behind Leo. Suddenly, the entire conference room began to tremble violently. Puff. Aries turned pale. Blood spurted out from his mouth. I was wrong. Please give me another chance. The lion snorted. Dissipate the pressure and shadow. Pisces raised an eyebrow. That's it. He also wanted to see the river of blood. The lion said solemnly, this time the loss of the source of the world will be deducted from your resources. Aries has a sore face. The source of the world can be said to have a price but no market in the black market of all races. He worked for nothing for 10 years. It should. Aries didn't dare to touch the angry lion, so he had no choice but to agree. The lion tapped the knuckle of his right index finger lightly on the table and continued, tomorrow you go to the Black Mountain Research Institute. According to information provided by an informant, Lin Xiao's research team is studying a potion that can strengthen warriors. I need you to get the samples. Aries breathed a sigh of relief. A new task is issued. Explain that the matter of the foreign land has been turned over. How many security forces can a mere research institute have? For me, Aries, it's no man's land. This time, I, Aries, will make great contributions. No problem. I'll definitely get the sample. Pisces interjected. What about me? The lion looked at him. Get up and go to Heidu immediately, Virgo needs your help. Pisces nodded. Thankfully, I finally don't have to continue to live with the cerebral palsy Aries. If it weren't for the fact that there is no hand in the abyss, I really want to slap you to death. If you fail again, I'll see you in person. When the words fell, the lion disappeared. Pisces looked at Aries with a smile. Today is the last day we work together, do you want to have a drink? Roll. Aries left angrily. Pisces stretched. I really don't know how to flatter. Beautiful Heidu, here I come. ... It's me. Qin Zi was speechless. The card you just gave a few hours ago, so quickly forgotten. How much is left in the countdown? Yao Yuan's faint voice was full of exhaustion. Young man, it's better to be restrained. Qin Zi kindly advised. Yao Yuan, those 2 guys wearing golden masks in the foreign world are the 12 constellations of the Fair Society. Everyone in the 12 constellations is a high-level warrior and obeys the direct orders of the mysterious president. Originally, I planned to catch them after they left the foreign land, but let them slip away. For advanced fighters of the same level, it is very difficult to win 1 against 2. After all, who has cultivated to this level, who doesn't have a few cards to save his life? Coupled with Yao Yuan's excessive consumption in a foreign land, it is reasonable for Pisces and Aries to slip away. Qin Zi called him a good guy. It turns out that the guy who likes cosplay beggars has such a big background. There are 40 hours left in the countdown. Yao Yuan said relaxedly, it's as I expected. The countdown is short, which means that the world correction is easy, and basically it is bloodless. Qin Zi was confused. So what is the source of the world? Yao Yuan did not answer directly, but asked, where did the key on your body come from? Give it to Brother Biao. The matter has come to this point, there is nothing to hide. Yao Yuan smiled. Wang Biao is also a wonderful person. Qin Zi thought so deeply. Heroes see the same thing. Immediately, Yao Yuan began to popularize science for Qin Zi. Just after experiencing a foreign land, you probably guessed how the foreign land came about. There are two types of foreign lands, ordinary foreign lands and hunting foreign lands. Ordinary foreign lands are similar to the secret lands in Shokesian's novels. There are opportunities such as exercises, weapons, etc., and they are also full of dangers. It's just that there is no intelligent life in it, it is an independent space. Hunting Alien is a complete timeline evolved from the will of the world. This timeline is based on the evolution of the real world, and has evolved a variety of possibilities for the destruction of the world and the extinction of mankind. Arguably a wrong timeline, and the world hunting mission is to clean up the pollution in this timeline and get everything back on track. The source of the world is the reward after a successful hunt. Qin Zi listened carefully. This is about the same as his guess. Yao Yuan continued. After the hunting mission is completed, everything is not over yet. You already know the wrong evolution direction of the future world, so you need to correct it after returning to the real world. Nip any mistakes that haven't happened in the bud, and the whole mission will be considered over, and the source of the world will be settled for you, for your use. As for the usage of the source of the world, I can't explain it in a few words. You can explore it yourself in the future. Now, let's talk about your world modification mission. Yao Yuan asked. The correction mission should be related to the Black Mountain Research Institute. Qin Zi was at a loss. I don't know. Nothing but a countdown. God knows what it is. Yao Yuan, concentrate on the countdown. Qin Zi did so. Immediately, a miraculous scene happened. Another line of text appeared after the countdown. Main correction content. Destroy all samples and materials of reverse alpha reagents. Minor correction content. Prevent Ma Yan from evolving into a queen. Qin Zi twitched the corner of his mouth. So the details need to be pointed out. What task system is too unintelligent? Qin Zi recounted the content of the revised task to Yao Yuan. It's about the same as I guessed. The alien world mainly evolves around the research institute. Qin Zi set his sights on the minor corrections. How to stop it? Kill her. Ask yourself. It was difficult for Qin Zi to make a move. What is wrong is not Ma Yan, but the world. Tomorrow at 8 o'clock. There will be a set of identification documents for entering the research institute in the number 9 locker at Dongcheng Station. Password 66. You have 3 hours to complete the correction task. I will lead the team to the Montenegro Research Institute at 11 o'clock. You need to leave before I do. Qin Zi understood Yao Yuan's implication. We have never been in the same boat. Didn't make this call today either. Qin Zi made a big fuss at the Montenegro Research Institute, which is bound to bring in law enforcement. At that time, Yao Yuan will only enforce the law impartially. Why are you helping me? Qin Zi was puzzled. The source of the world is a very precious thing. He didn't believe there were such generous people in this world. Yao Yuan said indifferently. This source of the world cannot go to the official hands, otherwise it will be taken away by the Maka tribe. The fat water does not flow to outsiders, fields. Rather than letting the source of the world fall into the hands of a foreign race, it is better to control it in the hands of our own people. Not to mention a circus. Even if Qin Zi is fair now, Yao Yuan will make the same decision. In front of the common foreign enemy, internal fighting can only be retreated a little. Qin Zi was silent for a moment. I have one last question. What is the key for? After Qin Zi returned home, he saw Qin Yu sleeping on the sofa covered with a blanket. Hearing the sound of the door opening, Qin Yu woke up suddenly. Seeing Qin Zi standing at the door, she was taken aback. Qin Yu's hair is messy. It seems that I haven't slept all night, and the dark circles under my eyes have come out. His complexion was extremely haggard. Qin Zi said with a bit of distress, "Sister, I'm back." Qin Yu's mouth shrunk, and tears welled up in his eyes. Qin Zi, where did you die? I don't come home at night, and I don't answer the phone. I didn't sleep all night. Qin Zi was very moved. It has to be my sister. I was worried like this when I didn't go home for a day. Qin Zi decided, when I ascended in the daytime, I had to bring my elder sister with me no matter what. If you don't go home, you will leave the money. I haven't eaten for 2 meals. Qin Yu came to the little brother, feeling aggrieved. The emotion in Qin Zi's heart disappeared instantly. Well, forget it. Don't take it, Qin Zi said unhappily. almost hungry and thin. Chin Yu sniffed. If you don't bribe me well, I'll call and tell Mom about your night out. Please. Chin Zi turned around and returned to his bedroom. Chin Yu stamped his feet. You brat, just wait. In the evening, Chin Zi cooked a sumptuous meal himself, which made the old lady smile again. In Chin Zi's memory, Chin Yu was very easy to coax from childhood to adulthood. While eating, Chin Yu suddenly said, "By the way, I have something to tell you." Chin Zi looked up. What? Chin Yu said, I am going to Heidu tomorrow. It will probably take a long time to come back. Chin Zi was curious. Why go to Heidu? Chin Yu replied casually, it's a good friend's birthday, so I stopped by to hang out for 2 days. Is there any money left? Hearing this, Chin Yu looked at Chin Zi with eyes full of hope. My brother has finally grown up and knows how to use his New Year's money to help his sister. Chin Zi rolled his eyes and put a bank card on the table. There is 100,000 yuan in it, the password is your birthday. Chin Yu couldn't help but exclaimed, warriors make too much money, right? I wish I had also applied for Wuhan University. Chin Zi wanted to laugh. If your old martial arts talent could be admitted to Wuhan University. Sows can climb trees. Where did your parents travel? When can I come back? Chin Yu counted the money happily. It's coming soon, it's probably within the next few months. After dinner, Chin Yu took the initiative to ask Ying to wash the dishes. As expected, 2 more were broken. In the dead of night, Chin Zi lay in bed and began to plan for the future. After completing the correction task tomorrow, you must hurry up and practice. The martial arts exam is coming. Although Chin Zi didn't take the bad things in the examination room to heart, in this crisis-ridden world, improving oneself is the last word. Glancing at the small tree on his chest, Chin Zi's eyes flickered. On the phone during the day, Chin Zi finally learned the purpose of the key from Yao Yuan. The key is used to open the Stargate. These are Yao Yuan's original words. Chin Zi then continued to ask what the Stargate was. Yao Yuan began to become the riddler. In addition, Yao Yuan also said that after he completes the correction task tomorrow, he will get a surprise. Touching the small tree, Chin Zi turned over. That's it for now, go to bed first. The next day, Dongcheng Station. Chin Zi found storage box number 9, entered the password, and took out a black package. There was a black access card inside. There was no photo or name on the card. There is only a string of numbers, and behind the numbers are beautiful mysterious patterns. After using the ability of Thousand Faces to randomly change a passerby's face, Chin Zi took the shuttle bus to the Black Mountain Research Institute. Just like last time, the defense of the Black Mountain Research Institute is as tight as ever. There is a team of armed security guards at the entrance, checking the identity of everyone entering and exiting. Is it reliable? Chin Zi stepped forward anxiously and showed the card. The security guard at the door suddenly stood in awe. My lord, let me lead the way for you. The security captain nodded and walked in front. Chin Zi went in without any inspection. Awesome, my distance. Chin Zi took the VIP channel. There are still many people queuing on the other side. There are employees who are working, and there are also people who come to visit or discuss cooperation. Among them was a tall young man with a handsome face. Security will release you immediately after verifying your identity. Hey, I didn't expect it to be so easy to sneak in. The young man's brows were full of uncontrollable surprise. This is not your carriage. On the platform, the young man saw that there were few people at Chin Zi, so he wanted to get on the bus from there, but was driven away by the security captain. It's so unfair. The young man cursed inwardly and queued up in front of another carriage. Chin Zi looked at the young man's leaving figure and suddenly felt a little familiar. Sir, you can board the car. The security captain reminded. Oh, Chin Zi walked into the carriage where he was the only one. On the other side, the young man also boarded the bus smoothly and couldn't help but murmur to himself. It's so simple. This time, I, Aries, will make a great contribution. I hope everyone will support it and subscribe more.